However, the pandemic moved us like 10 times ahead of time. We've had to change strategies, businesses. We have to change how we work, the tools we use. You can go on and on. A lot has changed in the last 1.5 years. But one reality that you've seen, there's been a drastic change in the brick and mortar. Whether you're in banking, you're in telco, you are in whatever, there's been a drastic change in the brick and mortar. But a very serious increase in contact centers. So if you go to all the contact centers, you find that headcounts have gone up 30%, 100%. Where I work, for instance, we've had to almost double the headcount in all our contact centers. But this has come with a lot of challenges, and that's why we're here today. So we have a very, very exciting session today, because I'm glad to have the pleasure to introduce some of the best brains in CX in the country. So what I'll do, I'll introduce our panelists today. And when I introduce the panelists, please just morning. You remove the mute and say good morning. Without saying much, as you answer your questions, you can tell us much more. So I'll just do introduction for all the panelists. Then we'll go into the questions, and we will take some questions from the audience. Just like Bernard has said, there is a button on your right. If you look at your screen, there's a button on your bottom right. Looks like a house written activities. If you click on it and you go, you'll see Q&A. Put your question there. So on the bottom right, there's a button written activities. If you click on it, you'll see Q&A. Click on that, put your question there. But you can also just send a chat for any feedback. There's the button on chat. So you look at the 4 buttons. The third one is chat with everyone. The last one is activities. The one on activities, if you click Q&A, put your questions there, and then we'll be able to, they'll be able to answer them. Okay, so 1 minute, okay. So I will go in no particular order of the panelists, introduction of the panelists. So I'll start with Wanjiru Kinyua. So let me talk about Wanjiru a bit. Wanjiru is our head of contact center and customer experience for KCB Group. As you know, in Kenya, it doesn't come bigger than KCB. I think KCB has the biggest balance sheet. I think the second or the first or the highest customer base, and the most profitable bank in the country. So it doesn't get bigger than Wanjiru Kenya. Wanjiru Kenya, I think they have also the highest contact center guests in terms of bumps on seats in the country. So welcome, Wanjiru. Please greet the audience.
Thank you very much, Julius, and good morning. Happy to be here.
Thank you. I go to a gentleman. The gentleman, I work with him somewhere. This is Bernard Mosetti. Bernard Mosetti is head of business development, sales at Connect One East Africa. So he's in charge of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. I don't know which other one. East Africa has become very big. Plus South Sudan, I'm told. Now, the Connect One is one of the leading source of contact center solutions, especially cloud-based solutions. And I know we are used to Avaya, to Genesis, to Cisco, but there are some serious solutions that are in the market right now, and they are fairly priced. They have been done cloud-based, and so they are more, they're more scalable. And Mosetti is the head of that for East Africa for Connect One. So Mosetti, please say hi to the audience.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm so excited to be in the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I want to introduce another lady. This is Roslyn Zelani. Roslyn Zelani has an immense experience in CX, having worked for Safaricom for some time. He works for Andela for some time. Andela is owned by Facebook, if you know. And now she's leading Copia Global as the head of customer care. A wealth of experience in CX and in contact center specifically. So Zelani, please say hi to the colleagues.
Good morning, everybody, and happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julius.
Thank you. Okay. I have the pleasure of introducing a gentleman. He had reminded me that, Julius, once I was your boss, eh? So this is Joseph Orlando. Joseph Orlando is the head of customer experience for Trigger Foods. Joseph has vast experience. We were with him at Safaricom back in the day. He was my boss then. I was the manager while I was an agent at that time. From there, Joseph was had the pleasure of working at Equity Bank, in CX, leading CX there, DSTV, and now at Figure Foods. Figure Foods, as you know, are leading the digital food production in Kenya. So actually East Africa. So Joseph Orlando, over to you. Please say hi to the audience.
Thank you, Julius, and good morning to everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have the pleasure of introducing another lady, fantastic lady. I've known him for quite some time, Dorothy Jumba. Dorothy is the head of customer experience for Housing Finance Group. I had the pleasure of, actually Dorothy and I joined customer contact centers, Safaricom, the same day, same time. I remember that. Dorothy also has had experience in Safaricom for quite some time, now leads Housing Finance Group. Wealth of experience that I'm sure you're going to enjoy to listen to today. So Dorothy, say hi to the team.
Good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here. Looking forward to some great conversations. Thank you, Julius.
Very well, very well. Okay, I am going to introduce the last but not least. I think she's probably in one of the most sensitive businesses in the country today. Wavi Mungala. She likes to be called Wavi, but me I call her Wavinya. Just like to put it full. Wavinya Mungala. Wavinya is head of corporate communications and customer experience at Help. Now she's also been at KCB for some time. Now, if you know how Help is today, you probably have noted that there's been a lot of improvement in the level of service that they deliver. You just go to the app these days and all is sorted. I've had the experience of getting a lot of assistance of people looking for help assistance, and Wavi has been very helpful. So Wavi is leading Help, digitizing Help, leading customer experience there. Wavi, please say hi to the team.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wavi. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go straight into it. As I said, because I know colleagues here probably are interested in asking a lot of questions, so I'm sure they'll be coming through. But we'll start by Wanjiru. Wanjiru, and as I said, this is in no particular order. It's just it's just how it happened. So Wanjiru, you know, the pandemic has resulted into increase in a lot of home working in the contact center world. You've had to shift resources between home and office. You know, there's been a lot of challenges in terms of who works from home, who works from office. So we wanted to know from you and your experience, what challenges have you experienced, and what percentage of your workforce work from home, and which channels do they use? How that experience all has been for you? So, Wavi, if you can take us through. Sorry, Wanjiru, if you can take us through that.
That's fine, Julius.
Yeah, I'm confused, Wanjiru and Wavinya, so excuse me. Yeah.
It happens a lot, even when we're working in the same organization.
I know.
Okay, so no problem. So Julius, when I was thinking about this question about COVID, it just took me back. Now we are in year 2 of COVID, and the first time when COVID just started, you remember the anxiety within each and every one of us, and the uncertainty that what is going to happen in this COVID season. So I was thinking about that, and that's where we started. How at that point where now everything has changed. And remember, banking sector is one of those sectors that, you know what, you work completely from the office. There is no working from home. And for us, it has been a completely change of mindset. Getting the teams now, especially at the contact center, you know, you have built a massive contact center. And as you said, you are one of the largest contact centers in terms of the banks. So how do you now shift that the team from working from the office and working from the home? It takes a complete mindset, looking at our systems and the people. In fact, the people came to the core, because one of the things that we realized is about mental health. How is the mental health of the teams? And we had to start doing many programs for the teams, talks, engagements. This is how the pandemic has shifted our way of working. And then managing the teams, because teams were leaders and managers were used to, you have the team there, you can see them, you manage them, you can see what time they've come in. So now it means using your technologies, using your workforce management to work for you, ensuring that the teams also are alert, and then also balancing the business needs plus the needs of the people. In fact, now teams are working from home. So in the middle of meetings, as you're having meetings, maybe a little one will come in, and they need to, for them, that is normal. They don't know that, you know what, in work, it's only your colleagues. It has taken now that shift of incorporating your work and your family, the whole sense of everything, to the workplace. And let me just come in terms of now the managing of the team. So I've mentioned about workforce management. I've mentioned also about having that heart, what I love to call the love quotient. You have to get in touch with your teams. You cannot be business as usual. You have to know what is it that is driving you behind your work experience. We have about 40% of our teams working from home. That's quite a number of teams working from home. So how do you manage this? How do you ensure that everyone comes up, shows up, and is at the best of what they need to do each and every day? How do you also manage that the leaders and the teams who are now working also from the office, you're continuing to coach them, to mentor them, to ensure that they are actually bringing the best of what they can? And then also in terms of tools and technology, what tools and technologies did we have in place? Can they quickly be converted into the home front? What kind of, in terms of even the sitting arrangement where you are, do people have the desks? Do they have the tools? You know, sometimes when you're saying you're working from home, it's not as easy as you think. In terms of data, all that. So you have to put that in place, pack it for the team so that it's easy and accessible to them, so that going into the home front is easy and they are able to work like they were at home. And of course, even in a much better environment. I'm sure that for the teams who've been working from home, they can absolutely say that that environment has been in a better environment. Now, going on in terms of the channels, what channels we have seen an impact for our customers. So I'll talk about the channels in terms from both a customer perspective and in terms of how our customers interacting with us. Now, we've had many customers. I'm sure, like maybe my colleagues here would say, we've seen a shift in how our customers are interacting with us. In an omni-channel situation and in contact centers, we are so used to customers just giving us a phone call or maybe an SMS and email. But from our perspective, we've seen a shift, especially in the digital channels, that customers are now moving more into our social media channels. Our WhatsApp channel has been so popular with our customers. We have seen an increase of about 60% in that channel, and a bit of reduction in terms of course, just a slight bit, as customers are moving to these more digital channels. And in terms even of a banking perspective, we've seen a shift even into those banking digital channels for our customers and as well as our staff. We've also seen a shift for our customers in terms of self-serve. They want to see, how do we serve ourselves? I don't want to come to the bank. How do I ensure that I'm able to serve from the beginning to the end, self-serve? I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to ensure that I'm able to self-serve, I'm able to onboard, I'm able to get all my inquiries and updates on the digital platforms. So it has been very exciting from that perspective in terms of the shift to digital and even the shift of thinking, because now we have more and more technologies. Things that we wanted to plan in 2 years' time had to come faster in terms of IVRs, in terms of self-onboarding, in terms of bots. This has to come earlier because of the whole shift in digital and the digital experience.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Anjiro. Thank you very much for that elaborate. I'm really, it's really exciting because to hear that your WhatsApp channel has gone up probably 60% and voice has come down. You know, that's really what we expect, but not all businesses are seeing like that. Could I have any questions from the audience, please, for Anjiro? Any questions from the audience for Anjiro before I ask mine? Okay, Bernard. Okay, somebody's raised. Michael's hand is raised. So Michael, over to you. Please unmute. Ask the question.
Sorry. Thank you, Anjiro, for the elaborate conversation around the impact of COVID-19 and running into 2 years into COVID-19 season period, and the impact on contact center. Maybe what I would just want you to talk me more about is how has it been, what has been the impact of COVID-19 and this period when it comes to the headcount in terms of the numbers at workplace? How have you been able to balance between the numbers and keeping the tempo in terms of your performance? You see, I hope you're getting my question. Like the performance and the headcount at your workplace, how have you been able to manage that?
Okay. Thank you. But before, Wanjiru, before you introduce yourself, before you answer that question, Michael, please just introduce yourself, because I'm sure there are people who really want to know you. We are 59 of us. So yeah, Michael, introduce yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Thank you again, Julius. My name is Michael Shioso Tihonya. I am a client relationship manager at ShareLogic, ShareLogic Management Consultants. Currently, I've been able to do to deal with quite a number of companies working with ShareLogic as a consultancy, as a consultant in human resource management and outsourcing.
Okay.
So back to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for that question about resourcing and how that has had an impact. So interestingly enough, we've been able to maintain the same headcount at all our channels, even in as much as I've mentioned, there was a shift in terms of the voice and the social media. So it's now working and seeing, okay, where do we need more resources? Which area do we need? So a shift in terms of where that resourcing needs to go, but not on the overall headcount. So we've been able to manage that headcount. But one of the things that we've also been able to do is be able to use our digital channels where we can offer support end to end. And one of the things that we've been able to do, for example, is have a dynamic interactive voice response system. So today, when you call our contact center, you will be able to actually do some items on some inquiries end to end without talking to a human being. And that's one of the things that has helped us in this COVID season, because we've had to go, what do our customers want? How do we facilitate it for them? Whether it's an inquiry, whether it's a transaction, how are they able to get that fully and onboarded on an end-to-end digital solution? And when they want to talk to an agent, because we all know, people always want to interact, and you've seen that also in the COVID season, that they want to interact, that they will also have that one available. I think that was your first question, Michael. Michael, what was the second one? In terms of how we've been able to maintain quality?
It was just, right? Yes, you got it right. As in, I just wanted to understand how you have been able to maintain, to manage the dynamics around the headcount and maintaining the quality in terms of striking the balance between, if there is any shift in the headcount, what has been the impact on the quality? Are you getting? Yes. Or rather on the service delivery to your customers?
Fantastic. You ask a very good question. Now, one of the things that we are very deliberate about is our quality. And one of the things that we do is we do have what we call a quality analysis for all our calls or all our interactions at the contact center. So we increased that tempo in having more quality interactions where we review and then having conversations, even with the team leaders and the staff, what went right, what went wrong on a daily and a weekly basis. So that makes that, so that ensures that our quality for our customers has actually gone above. And Julius, I think we're having this conversation. As I mentioned to you, one of the things that has been a good thing for us in the Global Banking Awards just recently, we actually named the best bank in customer experience in Kenya just this week. And so it shows that while some of those things that we are doing are actually are taking us there. Thank you. So the Euromoney Global Awards named KCB Bank as the best bank in customer experience. So, but it takes a lot of engagement, listen to those interactions, at all interactions. What are customers saying on voice? What are they saying on email, on social media? What are your agents telling them? What are your team leaders telling them? And then come together again. Look at that, review. What things can you change in terms of process, in terms of people, in terms of technology? So those are the kind of things that we have been doing at KCB Bank.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wanjiru. And by the way, congratulations again. I'm sure other bankers are wondering, how did KCB beat us to this? Okay, let's Sheila ask the last question, then we move on. I can see a lot coming on the chat, but I'm sure that will be handled. Sorry, Sheila's hand is up.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to see some of my favorite people today. Congratulations, Wanjiru. I'm jealous, but I'm proud of you. I'm sure you're doing a good job. So, Wanjiru, I'm just curious to know, especially from a security perspective. Oh, I'm the head of contact center at DTB. Sorry. So, Wanjiru, I'm just curious to know, have you seen any exposure or any increase in the rates of exposure with some of your team working from home, considering the systems that they are now able to access and the high rates of cybersecurity that we see these days? So, and if you have, how have you been able to manage it without necessarily limiting access to systems for your teams that work from home? Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheila. You ask a very good question. I am lucky enough to work for a bank where, and I think it's the nature of banks where security is of high priority. And I'm proud to say we've not seen any instances of where we've had instances in terms of breach of our securities or anything like that. But what happened when the COVID season began, we had our IT security systems and technology team just coming up with multi-factor authenticity. I think this season, the kind of apps that I have and the kind of things that we've been able to onboard in terms of security, I never knew existed. So in terms of that, we've not been able to see a breach. I'm happy to say that even the times, the kind of technology and things that we've been able to use, we've not been able to have any breach, and has been able to ensure that even for a bank our size, that we've been able to actually ensure that security and data for our customers has been secured, and we've not been able to have any incidents.
Oh.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So, Julius, we have two more questions from the audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to take that now, or we take it at the end?
The QA.
Okay, we can take it at the end of during the Q&A.
Please, let's just make sure we don't miss them out. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next panelist, and thank you, Wanjiru, for such giving us such a congratulations again on winning award for the best bank in CX in Kenya. All right. So the next, I'll go to Moseti. So Moseti is, as I said, is head of business development and sales for Connex One East Africa. So Moseti, I know you are in the business of cloud-based solutions, and you, of course, looking around to sell in Kenya and in the East Africa. How has the pandemic affected your sales? Have you seen customers taking more cloud-based solutions? Are your sales dipping? Are they increasing? What challenges are you facing in the marketplace in terms of selling cloud-based solutions? Over to you, Moseti.
So once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the session from all corners of the world. My name is Bernard Moseti, and I have been in contact center operations and customer experience for, like, I think it's 11 years now, back in 2010 when I met Julius, and I'm so happy that 12 years along the line, still we are together in the same industry. See, that shows you've really grown us in this industry. When we talk about contact center operations, we, of course, we have both the hardware and of course, the software. And of course, I have been in the contact center, of course, hardware operations for quite some time. But currently now I'm in the contact center, software bit of the operations. So at Connex One, first, I will just introduce you about Connex One. We provide what we call a customer engagement platform that enables inbound and outbound customer interactions through a secure-based cloud solution, through an omnichannel engine. When Wanjiru was talking about the aspect of digital space, it was entering me into my nerves, because You see, if you are not in the digital space right now, I'm telling you, you're actually just losing everything. And when we say sometimes cloud, sometimes people don't understand. There are people who don't understand really what cloud means. It just means an online platform. It's just a hosting through cloud contact center services. So Connex One, in a nutshell, offers everything that enhances customer engagement, from the dial-up, the form builder, what we call an omni-channel customer experience, all the social media. Because when you hear a bank like KCB has gone up to 60% uptake in WhatsApp, that tells you a very strong message that people are moving from the voice. I don't need to call. If I have Facebook, I have to communicate. If I have Twitter, I have to communicate. If I'm in Instagram, right now people just want even to communicate through photos and all that. I post a photo and you should be able to interact and know what I mean. So the Connex One platform now brings all those social platforms into one communication, and it can support every interaction that helps that is carried out in an organization. And all that normally is consolidated, into one journey. But let me now answer the question that you asked, Julius. A very hard question as a business development manager who is in charge of the East African region. We are in a developing country, and of course there are still organizations that are putting into DIA what we call the brick and mortar, and of course because of the security issues and here and there. But basically, analysts see sunny days ahead of cloud computing sector. Why am I saying so? Is because you've seen what the COVID-19 has done. It literally never wanted people to interact. And of course, the way banks used to be, you go queue and you're almost 300 people in a queue. And you can imagine what that impact would bring if you didn't move to the digital space. So I think the uptake of cloud is taking shape, and the speed at which companies are embracing the cloud-based solution is gaining momentum. And of course, there are so many reasons, but you'll allow me just to mention three. First, in a cloud-based contact center, there is no requirement for hardware, which ultimately eliminates the problem of maintaining, the equipment, upgrades and all such things. I'm imagining a bank like KCB, when you want to talk about just upgrading a hardware, it's all a capital expenditure. You'll have to take 6 months to plan for that kind of a project. And it becomes a very big nightmare when you are convincing management that you want to move from this space to this space. So for cloud-based, such things are not there. And therefore, it requires just minimal management, within the IT department. And even now, from the customer experience perspective, just convincing management that this is where we want to move. Secondly, I know most of us will talk about how many agents are now currently working remotely. But you can't just talk about remote working if you are not in the system that supports that remote working. So in terms of Connex One, we have that kind of a technology, and of course it's supported through VPN technology. The VPN technology supports wherever you are, not even just at home. We just talk about remotely. You are in US, you can actually work, and somebody can monitor your performance from there and all that. Thirdly, if you move nowadays, if you want to just change a system, sometimes the issues of capital expenditures are very high. So it's good that you run a system that moves from capital expenditure to operational expenditure. So yes, the business has been affected positively, and I can start by that, because now we don't want on-premise. We are now in cloud, and so cloud is supporting the current challenges of pandemic. So the business has actually been good. In fact, we started the operations in Kenya in January this year, and I can comfortably say that around 15 to 17 companies have already embraced the system. Why? Because that is where everyone is moving to. But again, like any other business, the slowdown of the economy, the lockdowns and all that, people are just getting reduced. And I'm so happy KCB has maintained the workforce. I was in also a HR organization where the pandemic just reduced work headcounts by almost 30 to 40%. And of course, if you are running a contact center and maybe probably you have reduced those numbers, it has to affect you positively. People don't have money. That's why we are finding that sometimes there are companies that are, they want that the cloud-based solution, but because of the current challenge, they cannot be able to afford. So you say, we will try when maybe the economy is strong and all such things. So that's the challenge that we are getting when we are actually running, we are selling that. So the other question was, do you see your customers taking cloud-based? Of course, yes, because of what I've already explained. People don't want now to bring in so much servers, maintenance of servers, IT department, the IT staff and all that. Why do you do all that? Yet you can just have a space in the cloud, and we have AWS now that is becoming very, very popular in terms of, managing space for all these companies. You don't need servers, you don't need IT staff, you just need a cloud, a web, and then you are supported 100%, and then there you are. And of course, it's subscription based, so you can just decide to scale down, you can decide to scale up, and that actually will help organizations just manage their headcounts and of course their costs. Yeah.
Thank you. Fantastic, Moseti. Moseti, you sold 16 solutions in 1 year. I think you're really loaded.
Not in 1 year. Not in 1 year, in 7 months. We are in July.
Wow. So, Wavinya, so now where we need to go for that coffee you're talking about. Moseti will buy it. So, so Moseti, I don't know if there's any, but for me first, I know, this market is dominated by the likes of Avaya. Avaya is now, I think, also going cloud. Cisco and the rest of those. How are you finding that? How are you finding the market in terms of competition? Are you stealing from these guys, or is that difficult? From the big boys.
I know.
By the way,
most of this.
Wanjiru still uses Cisco, and I don't know what they use at what the rest of the guys use, but I know she uses Cisco. So you need to do some business. So tell us, how has that been in terms of competition?
I think one of the things that has stood out, and I don't want to say, but every system is good. The only thing that differentiates one system from another is first the demand for the client, and number two, the futuristic of that particular system, because you don't want to have a system that did not have a capability of, say, a WhatsApp account or a social media last year, and because this year there has been a shift because of the pandemic. Now you really have to remove everything from that system, and then you install another one that has got a very small just feature that would have been onboarded from the word go. So what we are saying is the challenge is there. Yes, of course, the traditional system had picked up from the issue of, the brand, the way Sony came, and Sony has been there. Even if Sony still has its own challenges, people have just, the head comes, it's Sony. That is one of the things that I'm fighting for. So you would be having a very, very good, powerful system that has got very many robust capabilities. But just because someone is so dear to a certain system, people are just sometimes hard to change in mind and all that. That becomes, first of all, a very big challenge in terms of changing. Number two, you look at, you remember say, for example, what took you to invest in Ameo, Avaya, 3CX, and you're thinking, oh my God, is this the same process that I'll undergo to actually then change from one system to another? That becomes a big other thing. And of course, the way the economy is, people, the management doesn't want really to change those things. So those are the challenges. But if I could bring out something that is very unique for Connex One, is the scalability. And in terms of integration, you even if you wanted 150.
Moseti, you're on mute. Moseti, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you talked about scalability. Yeah, talked about Connex One and scalability. So just go on a bit.
Yeah, well, I was talking about scalability in terms of Connex One scalability. The issue of
You're on mute again, Moseti. You're on mute again.
I think somebody has muted Moseti.
I don't know who is muting me. Yeah. So the issue of scalability I'm talking about in terms of competition, Connex One is really stood out, because when you talk about scalability, is I want to reduce the numbers. What does that mean in terms of my cost? I don't want a scenario where I signed a contract for 1 year, and the issue is whether you have 10 agents, whether you have 50 agents, you still have to pay the same cost of that maintenance or that system. So if you have 30 agents, you pay for the 30 agents. If you have 10, you pay for 10. If you want to say, next month I want to reduce my agents from 100 to 57, the following month it just goes with the subscription. And I think that is what is helping me, move with the system. But again, the issue of rolling off contracts month to month, I don't want a scenario where I commit for 2 years, and then if I wanted to move, you are telling me to pay for the whole contract of 2 years. You get? So the issue is you have a system that if this month I want it, I want. If next month I don't want it, it's just about just writing and then you remove it. So that is really helping us sell within the systems, within the current competitors.
Thank you, Moseti. Let's take one question from Moseti from the audience. I've seen somebody asked about what the exact system name. I think the name is Connex One. Connex One.
Connex One platform.
Yeah, Connex One. Yeah, so you can also chat Moseti on that. Yeah, so whose hand is up?
Benjamin Okita. Benjamin Okita's hand was up.
Benjamin
Okita, you can unmute.
Okay, I don't think we have Benjamin.
And Sheila also raised her hand.
Yeah, we can get a question from Sheila, and I can see also Michael.
Sorry, I hope it's not this Sheila. Is there another Sheila? Sorry.
Yeah, it's you.
Sheila, your hand I think has been still up. You didn't put it down. Okay. All right. Then Adhiambo Bondi is raised as well. Adhiambo Bondi.
Yeah.
Please unmute and ask the question, Adhiambo.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the forum, Julius. My name is Rebecca, and I head the customer service for Greenlight Planet.
Okay. Greenlight Planet, thank you.
Yeah. So interesting is Moseti, it's one of your systems is one of the functions I'm trying to figure out for our new markets.
Yeah.
And I'm quite interested to know if you have also sources in India. If that is possible, I'd like to know more about it because I'm testing different systems to just know the capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long does it take to do the transition? And if you've done this before with any markets or persons around India as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I just want to start with the aspect of India. First, the company Connex One started from the UK. That is where our headquarters are. We grew to UK, from UK to USA, then Austria, then now we came to South Africa. In Africa, our first country was South Africa. That's why we have a very, very big team there of almost 38 employees with a capacity of 4,900 agents utilizing Connex One platform. And then we went to Nigeria, and then the third country in Africa to then introduce Connex One is Kenya, and I was privileged to be the one heading those operations in the East Africa. I don't want to say whether we are in India. We do not have any sources in India currently. So probably that is probably in terms of expansion strategy, that is where we could maybe be planning to go, because I know India is also a giant in terms of the industry. Secondly, you asked about whether we have companies in Kenya. I can comfortably say I have onboarded together with my colleague. We are 2 of us in Kenya. We have onboarded 16 companies, but the company is strictly guided by the GDPR, where we have to get permission, strict permission in writing, for us to mention then the companies that are utilizing the same. But of course, with the time, because you are interested in the system, we can have that particular permission, and of course now then you can be able to be given the companies that are currently utilizing that. I don't know whether I got the third question. What was the third question?
So the third question was whether you've been able to do a transition with any existing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we have actually been able to do the transition. Normally what we do, if for example you accept to take the product, what we do is there are 2 meetings we handle. One is called tech spec meetings. We look at the infrastructure of your IT department, then we do a site survey. That takes 2 days, and then from there we do a POC, and this is almost again something that stands on us as a very good value add. We give you 30 days to just try that particular system, and even if it gets to the 29th day and you say I am not comfortable with this system, you just walk away. So we give you 30 days. Then if the 30th day you are good, we only take 2 weeks to onboard you. And we have done that already with some companies which have already started utilizing the product.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rebecca Diambo. Moseti, now you see you have potential customers right here. Yeah?
Yes, I know Greenlight. I know we've been discussing about 200. They are onboarding about 200 agents, I think. Very good.
Fantastic.
And I'm
okay, so let's go to.
So
yeah, thank you so much.
We have George Minda also is raising his hand.
Okay, we take George to the next step. Okay, George.
Yes, thank you so much, Julius. My name is George Minda, Quality and Workforce Manager at Copia Global. My question is to Moseta on the system that is Connex. I'm more interested on the comparison of this system when it comes to reporting and maybe start quality, QA features when you compare to the 3CX. I had him mention 3CX. So I'm more interested to see, or if you can elaborate the comparison of Connex and 3CX on terms of the features.
First, in terms of selling, and of course, I'm guided because as a head of business development, I'm guided by not mentioning companies, of course, features. What I normally want to do is stand out very clearly on our features. In terms of reports, Connex One has a capability of producing 75 different types of reports. When I talk about 75 different types of report, it means there is literally no type of report that you require that will not come out. Whether you want to talk about the average talk time, whether you want to talk about sensitivity analysis, whether you want to talk about speech text, whether you want to talk about, you know, the total number of calls that came there. I mean, the system is able to navigate any type of information that you want. So we have different types of 75 different types of reports in terms of QA. And why now we have gone ahead is that we have a functionality which is called Athena, which is artificial intelligence, where, you know, traditionally these other systems, you have to go back, you listen to a call, then because you have a template that has that kind of a score, you always listen to the call, and then now you grade the score for the call in terms of the call quality. But for Connex One platform, it is inbuilt with an Athena where automatically it grades and it qualifies the agent. So long as you have actually behind the system manager, you have commanded the system, this is what I want to hear. Before then the call is called a good call. So if, for example, you are selling and maybe the system is demanding you must to mention something like, you know, free sample, you know, bonus and all that. So if an agent has his script and he doesn't mention all that, the system is intelligent enough to know that was not a good call, that was not a good sold call. If it is, for example, receiving a call and you command back end, you know, there are some specific terms that we don't use in customer service. If you actually mention them, it means you are rude, you are not very polite in the customer. So the system is very intelligent enough to actually measure that and determine that this call wasn't a good call. So it even just ranks and automatically scores. So at the end of every call, the call just gives you an automatic score for that particular call. And that now removes all the issues of quality analytics where people sometimes judge people based on what they know them about and all such things. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So that's an inbuilt QA platform. I can see Dorothy nodding. It looks like I can see Wanjiru nodding, Joseph nodding. Rosalind is laughing and nodding. So clearly there's something happening. Thank you. I know there's a lot of questions coming, so I want to go to the next panel so that we don't take too long.
The others we can do them at the QA level.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. We'll do that at the end. Yes, we'll do it at the end. Okay, so let's go to Rosalind Zilani. So Rosalind, I know that you've got a lot of experience at Safaricom, apart from your current job at Global. And so we wanted to understand, because I know you have expertise in workforce management, and of course also in quality, and you're leading Copia Global customer care. So that Copia is in retail business, if I'm correct. Now, how has COVID-19 impacted your business in terms of quality, but in terms of also workforce management? What's the impact on workforce management that you see in the market, not necessarily at Copia Global, but even in the marketplace? You being a professional in workforce management, people management, it's a big organization, your experience at Safaricom, Mandela, and now at Copia Global. What could you share with us, and just to give us a sense of what has happened in the marketplace? Rosen, over to you.
Right. Thank you, Julius, for that question. And I'm happy to see a lot of my former colleagues and even my current colleagues in this session. So I'll try to do a lot of justice to that very loaded question. So just to give a bit of clarity, Copia is a mobile commerce platform, which is built to serve mostly rural and peri-urban customers. And you'll notice that 70% of our population is usually resides in the rural areas. So I can say from an e-commerce perspective, one of the things that happened during this time is where you'll find your rural or peri-urban population would not be too interested in mobile, in e-commerce, that need really grew. Especially because of limited mobility and accessibility. So there was a very big growth in the need for that level of convenience in accessing products. Therefore, rapid growth in volumes, not only from a sales perspective, but also from a customer experience or a customer care perspective. So I'll start with workforce. So we know that the pandemic has really caused a lot of lessons for us from a workforce management perspective. It started out more or less like a crisis for most of us, having to shift from a purely office-based environment to remote working. Some companies may have been lucky because they may have already started trying this out by that time, but most of us, like I'm speaking for Copia in this case, had not yet started this. So normally we don't let a good crisis go to waste. So what did we learn and what did we manage to do during this period? So one of the good things that came out of this whole experience has been shift planning flexibility. Any workforce planning person will tell you the biggest issue they usually have is just to get that shift planning flexibility when it comes to managing staff. So being able to utilize different staffing modules to enable staff to enable us to manage peak traffic, like split shifts, and then also being able to request for extensions over time on a moment's notice to support the influx of calls that actually happen. Some of us, our volumes grew by 20%, others by 200%, some of which, as Wanjiru rightfully said, we've managed to also manage from a social media or a digital platform perspective. So without having to consider commute time and compensating some of these hours later in the week, shift planning flexibility is one of the best things that came out of this. The second thing that also was a good thing that came from all this from a workforce management perspective is lower staff attrition and MIA. So MIA being absenteeism. So where you'll realize attrition is usually one of the biggest challenges from a contact center perspective, leading to increment of cost from a recruitment as well as a training perspective. During this period, I can say for us, MIA has really gone down. We are not having so much absenteeism, also due to the flexibility that working from home has allowed. And then on the other hand, from an attrition perspective, due to the fact that the job market also thinned during the period, attrition actually went down, which is also a good thing. Thirdly, from a cost savings perspective, I think all of us can speak to this, that working from home means there are some overhead costs you would have in a contact center environment that you no longer need to have, including transport costs, which in some centers is a very huge, cost. And then from the other hand, also considering things like real estate. Do we really need to have this big office to support staff? And yet this process works. So this is one of the things that also came out of this, though it may not have been an immediate cost saving, because initially we know we had to invest. Yeah, so where you are using desktops, you had to think about buying laptops and tools and infrastructure that will support a remote working environment. But in the long run, I'm sure we are looking at very good cost savings from different perspectives. But then on the other hand, there are those adjustments that we've had to make. One, from a planning perspective or a predictive analytic perspective, we've had to be very agile in how we do our capacity planning by creating varied short-term scenarios and revisiting this very often, because you cannot create a long-term plan and expect that to work, whereas before you would look at seasonality and assume these are the volumes you're going to get during this time of the year. That really totally changed and it became something different. So having to be very agile in that perspective, so that then you can make very good decisions from those scenarios, and then also being able to distribute your traffic a little bit differently across the day, because with most of our customers actually being at home, our volumes went up, where you will probably have volumes in early in the day and probably later in the day, you'll now have them across the day. The other thing that also we had to learn from this is how do we recruit and deploy staff in a working from home environment? And then also coming along with this is the rapid reskilling that is actually required due to the constantly changing environment. So having to rethink the whole staff induction training strategy for the teams to be able to enable this. And I'm sure right now most teams are very stable in doing this. And then thirdly, handling remote working interruptions. Who knew that the KPLC power schedule would become very integral to our ways of working? That every Monday morning you have to look at,
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. So power outages, let's talk about that. Adherence related issues that we probably never used to have to think about before, and distractions in those environments, children crying in the background when your associates are actually, or agents are actually answering calls. Then being able to learn to adapt to these behavioral changes which have had to occur in our agents. And I liked the way Wanjiru brought out how we've had to actually rethink how we are supporting our employees. And then there's a lack of supervisory monitoring, which is physical. Now there's no walking the floor. It is on call, it is on chat. Yeah, so having to rethink all these things has had to make us very agile in the way we do things. This is where having tools that measure and create visibility to agent productivity and real-time monitoring have actually really made us be able to turn around and even bring success in this BCP or business continuity planning. So for most of us, I must say, we really never imagined even having 80% of remote working from a call center perspective. But even for me, I think there's been a great realization that with the adjustments that we've had to make and being able to curtail the opportunity areas that we identified, productivity has actually been sustained at the same level and even higher. And still delivering on accessibility and efficiency targets. So that covers workforce. So the other thing,
I'm sure the guys are listening. The contact center heads in this webinar, please. I hope you're taking notes. This is very interesting. Okay, Roslyn, go on.
Cool. So from a quality perspective, some of the challenges that came in, as I said, rapid growth in volumes, and then we are realizing a lot of teams are working remotely. So there's a lot of need to implement remote supporting technologies, of which some have been spoken about. But let me just talk about from our perspective and what we've had to do. One of the things that we've had to think about is that right now it's not about how big you are, it's how fast you actually adapt to this changing environment. So one of the things that we've had to do is collaborative tools. Tools that support collaboration across teams, especially communication and information. So having to invest and to relearn how to communicate, utilizing different available software like Google Docs. I'm sure some of us have learned things that we had never thought we would use before. Tools like Confluence. I discovered Trello in this process, and maybe some of you have never heard of Trello, but it really enables you to be able to manage projects or outcomes across teams. And then tools like Slack, which enable, chatting and, communication across teams, Hangouts for Google as well as WhatsApp to support conversations and collaboration. And then analytic and dashboarding tools, whereas this may have been at the purview of supervisory level or managers before, it's become really essential to have the ability to track and trend, but not only customer service performance, but service breakdowns along the whole customer journey map. So you realize that from an e-commerce perspective, one of the things you'll be thinking about is delivery. So what about when the rains have happened and delivery doesn't happen and we are all working from home, and we need to know this and be able to support the teams accordingly. So having analytic tools and dashboards that enable you to know where you have what we call service failures and being able to fix this quickly has really been integral in fixing that experience. Then quality measurement tools, I won't dwell too much on this because I think Wanjiru as well as Mosetti spoke about it, but tools that allow call recordings, listening into calls, and then being able to measure that customer satisfaction and customer feedback. If there was ever a time that experience has become a key differentiator to a customer purchase decision, we know this is it. So for you to be able to sustain that very good, impactful experience, then quality measurement has been key. CRM and ticketing tools. When I joined Copia last year, I realized we were in the course of building a CRM tool, and it became very integral to have this completed within the course of the year, just to support this remote working environment. And even ticketing, allowing that visibility, escalation, follow-up, and tracking customer interactions. Whereas before you'd pick up your call and someone or walk over to someone and ask them to resolve an issue, right now it's not that possible. So this has been very integral in enabling us to be able to focus on the customer and create that great experience that is required. The other item would be growth of digital channels. I think Wanjiru spoke about this, but I want to talk about a tool we use, which is called Freshdesk, which we have been using. And I know there are other tools like what Mosetti has spoken about, including as well Ameo, that allow us not only to support our customers from our digital channels, but also to integrate these digital platforms to manage that experience from a centralized place, and even putting things like chatbots into our digital journeys. And then lastly, the importance of incorporating knowledge-based software that allows ease of accessibility and sharing information, both internally and externally, has become very key, because our frontline teams need to have information as quickly as possible and be able to refer to it. So whereas before supervisors will be able to share this probably on a morning basis, you need to have it there and easily accessible to our teams. So this has really been integral, not only in the growth of digital channels, but also in the advent of remote working teams. I've tried to be as brief as possible, and I hope I have been.
Oh, Roslyn, you know, you could write a book, right? So, you know, I mean, this is really interesting, because I know I've seen a colleague of mine from EcoBank, and one of that we've been having lately, and maybe she'll ask a question because of time, is around how do we make sure we have, you know, this card environment, PC, IDSS, if you're in banking. How do you make sure you have that environment safe, with the visa regulations followed, and you are still able to deliver good service? And you know, there are some tools that Roslyn has touched about that maybe I will talk to her and just look at some of them. Maybe they could help us to enhance that kind of environment in our workplace. Let me take 2 questions from the audience. I'm sure there has to be 2 questions for you. Sorry, for Roslyn. Any questions for Roslyn? I've seen Karo Gatobu saying that contact center is living the future now, and that is really true. And one of the things, you know, when I joined contact center back then with Dorothy, same day, and Orlando being our boss by then, I was wondering, you know, what kind of career is this, you know? But today, it is the place to be, right? Back then we were wondering where we were. Now it's the place to be. So let's take any questions. Any questions from Zilani? But it was too technical. Okay, Michael's hand is raised.
Thank you, Nzilani. My name is Michael Shioso. Again, I think I spoke in the first instance, did an introduction. Thank you very much for an elaborate discussion on that. And I think you have dwelled so much on people, which is something that probably is of my major interest, or rather and practice. Maybe if just I may ask, from your interaction and from your experience up to now, do you see the workspace still going back to that physical space, or do you see the journey towards the virtual workstations, and as the workspace also moving away from attendance-based jobs to performance-based jobs? What's your take on this?
Thank you for that question, Michael. And I think the reality of life is for a contact center, and especially from the performance perspective of where you're receiving calls, attendance is key. So to be sure, all of us are considering whether hybrid will work, whether we want to continue being fully remote, or we want to go back to working in the office. However, if you ask your agents, because you said you're very people-centered, they have enjoyed the experience of the convenience of working from anywhere. But the reality is that there are elements that do not allow you sometimes to fully work remotely. As I've mentioned, power interruption schedules, the investment we will need to put in to be able to support this fully remotely is very expensive, right? So sometimes they have to move around. Like for us, I think we do ask our agents to move. If they notice that their area for that day will have a power interruption, then make adjustments or make some plans to be able to accommodate the same. And that is a small call center. So we may have flexibility, but I think the reality that I see going forward is that we will have more of a hybrid environment where the workspace is not fully remote, but we do have options of going to the office. And you see, interaction is also really important to keep the business running. When you need to do product trainings, sometimes like for us, we need to go to the actual warehouse and look at the products that are there and understand what green, yellow, you know, it's a very different environment. So you may need to actually have your your agents going into the physical working environment. You need to hold team bonding, team building sessions. It's very possible virtually, but with time you realize that this is not fully effective, so you do need to have those once in a while. So I think for me, what I see as the future is that remote working is here to stay. However, it will need to be a very flexible effort or an agile way of working, where we are open to both ways of working, whether hybrid or being in the office, depending on need. I hope I've answered your question, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much. The question is well answered.
Okay, thank you. Allow me to move to the next panelist. I know we'll come back to the questions. So okay, so I want to go to Joseph Alanda. So Joseph is in the food production chain management, and has experience in other areas as well, telco, Safaricom. I've also talk about DSTV, MultiChoice, and Equity Bank. So I'm sure that's much you can share. But specifically, Joseph Alanda, in terms of demands on and expectation of quality of service delivery, in terms of food production, how have you had to tweak your strategy? Have you had to change so much in COVID? I know that I saw the likes of the food companies that had drive-through really did so well at the beginning, but everybody then had to adjust very fast. How was that been for you guys? And you could also share other experiences that you have. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Julius, and I hope I'm clear. Let me just also take the opportunity to introduce Tuga Foods in a proper manner. We are a B2B company that mainly aggregates supply and demand in the informal sector, basically informal retail in Kenya, and looking to expand into what you call the sub-Saharan Africa. So we deal with both fresh produce and also processed products, what you call FMCG or staples. Our model is that we sell to the last mile retailer, who then sells to the final customer or the consumer, the household that buys to consume at home. And the informal sector or the informal vendors are able to place their orders either by calling our contact center, through a sales agent that is in the field, and also through our digital platform that I'll talk about later, that is called Soko Yetu. And that then we are able to get the orders and process it and deliver wherever they are in where we are present. Now, back to where we are and COVID-19. In January, February 2020, BC, that is before COVID, our contact center was a very small outfit of just about 5 agents sitting in some small room in the head office. But with the first case of COVID and the panic that my colleagues have talked about that set in around March, April, where the country went into lockdown, curfews set in, one of the things that happened is that the demand for food actually went up in our space by up to around 400%, because people are locked at home, children are at home. Some of us, I know we used to make jokes with my colleagues that when we go back to the office, we'll have to reintroduce ourselves because of how much eating we have done. And we blamed COVID for the shrinking of our shirts. And we say that COVID is the impact. It's not us who have grown, it's the shirts that have shrunk. But the reality is the demand for food went up drastically, and especially knowing that also men were at home. Now, this incline in demand for us in the food sector was a blessing, because then when the demand was high in the household, then the vendors had more demand that they needed to supply. People are buying more, stocking up, because you don't know what the president will say tomorrow. And this meant 5 people, obviously, was not going to cut it. So the first strategic impact of COVID-19 on us was to expand quickly and drastically the contact center. And so we looked for a provider and outsourced a BPO partner and set up a contact center with about 15 agents that quickly moved to 20, and within a month was up to 35 because of the increased demand from our vendors. The second impact was then to incorporate a toll-free service number for the vendors. Remember, we are serving mainly the informal sector. So with increased demand, and they have to order more frequently than they were ordering before, they were calling more frequently. When we listened to them and listened to the voice of the vendor, there was a demand for toll-free. And we saw that we could enable that so that our vendors could be served better. So we opened up that toll-free line in January. And it has since grown in volumes to about 300% because of the number of vendors that may not have smartphones or ability to place orders for themselves. But we are now managing it. I'll talk about our digital journey in a short while. We also did something crazy that quite in the peak of COVID in October, November, we actually expanded into other cities. We expanded into Nakuru, Kisumu, and Eldoret. And of course, with that expansion, more vendors, then more demand. And you know, in business, you may not be able to increase your headcount as quickly as that. So it calls for a bit of efficiencies and relooking our ways of work. And that is what we have been working on most of this year. So the third strategic impact then was, if the volumes are growing and the demand is growing, then we must rethink digital. And so we have to go back and see, how do we promote digital and what we're calling digital migration to move most of our vendors that are able and are connected to smartphones to do self-ordering and self-service. And in the month of May, we started a relaunch of our digital platform, Soko Yetu, that we are now promoting and pushing. We have loaded it with a lot of offers, a lot of value addition that then makes it more attractive for customers to go to self-serve as opposed to wait to get to contact center or to wait for someone to come and take their order. And with the launch of self-service and the relaunch of our self-service platform and digital platform, then we undertook a fourth strategic step that has been driven by customer demand, and that is to extend even our ordering time. Our model is that you buy today and we deliver tomorrow. So we were working up to 6 p.m. But with the demand and the change of lifestyle because of COVID and other situations, we had now to expand that window to allow vendors to order up to 9. And interestingly, no sooner had we done that than major cities in Western Kenya went on to a curfew of closing at 7 p.m. So now it is actually a blessing for them. They close business, they have to be home by 7 p.m., but at the comfort of their homes, they are able to then go onto the platform and place their order for tomorrow, and we will deliver it tomorrow morning. In all this, and as my colleagues have spoken, especially Wanjiru and Roslyn, one key thing that has remained recurrent as a concern and something you have to keep thinking about is the work from home environment. So as a care and experience department, we have had to put in place work from home arrangements. And Wanjiru and Roslyn have really delved deeper into this and the challenges and the intrigues of when the knee-jerk reactions of work from home. I won't belabor that. Let me just mention one in passing. One day I visited one of our contact center agents and I found a real experience of an agent having the computer sitting on top of a 20-liter jerrycan of water, and they're sitting on their mattress on the floor. We all started from somewhere. We know that's where we started. We didn't have beds, and they're working in that condition for 8 hours. So that called to the attention of, really, when we are going to work from home, there are more other factors that we need to consider. There are some people who live in environments where they live with relatives, and light out is at 10. So if they're on night shift, then they cannot serve you past 10 because they're not paying the bill. And so people like Roslyn and the workforce guys have to really come in flexibility to see, how do we help you to work? There's some people who work in environments where when they are addressing the customer in their house, the whole estate is hearing because of how the estate is. And that's where they can afford to live. And those are issues that then, like for people in banking, brings concerns about customer data information and security and such like things. But we have had to put in measures to support our agents with work from home. I'll just mention 5 so that I don't repeat what has been said, and then I'll stop there. First, we have had to do what we call a risk budget and the processes, because work from home really is more.
Okay, what's the issue, Paris?
Okay, so someone needs to mute. So the first thing we have had to do to support work from home is relook our budget allocations. Obviously, we are going to do more laptops than desktops. You have to get into modems, you have to get into internet connectivity, MiFis, and all these things that support work from home. Currently, my contact center, I have 20% work from home. Like Roslyn is saying, I'm on a hybrid setting. And this 20% is permanently at home, even also for BCP. Secondly is there's been need to retrain and re-empower contact center supervisors with skills on remote performance management. You know, all of us here, contact center environment, we know something called MBWA, managing by walking around, is a key thing in contact center management, walking the floor. But now the supervisor is working at home and the contact center agent is at home. Which floor does the supervisor walk? So the floor walking has to be virtual and make use of those collaborating tools, Hangouts, Google Meet, and even Microsoft Teams to just make sure that we are all together and supporting each other. And we have had to really learn quickly into that transition. The third of the 5 things I want just to mention around work from home transition is ongoing. I'm on a scoping process and onboarding process for a new contact center system. Maybe too late for Mosetti, but we can have a chat. And we have to really insist that we need a cloud-based solution. And that's what we are going for. We can no longer do on-prem solution. And so that is something that all of us here will appreciate, that on-prem, as much as we're going to remain even hybrid, on-prem solution may no longer serve as well as going with your work everywhere on a cloud solution. The fourth thing is in our budgeting and infrastructure. For example, I'm now setting up an in-house contact center. And I've had difficult conversations with IT in saying all my machines must be laptops because I want to be flexible. If need be, to work from home 100%, just plug and play. And those are things that we have now to discuss and involve other departments to collaborate to see how customer experience can have continuity in the wake of the new normal that is now the reality with us. I'll give the final one and leave it there, and that is in our recruitment. And I don't know about the rest of us here, but now we are more keen on the profile we are recruiting. That, you know, that cliche that is on living certificates can work under minimum supervision since Form 4 now becomes a reality that you have to check and have practical ways of verifying that you're getting people on board that are self-managed to some degree and are able to work with minimum supervision for reality, because supervision now is virtual in most of our environments. And that is the scope of the impact we have had as Trigger that I can mention, and in the contact center space that I can share with the colleagues here and our audience. And I'll leave it there now for any comments or questions. Thank you, Julius.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Guys, I told you this is going to be quite interesting, a lot of learning. I'm sure you're getting your notes. Orlando, you know, you said something. Your food, the production, sorry, your sales increased 400%. That's amazing. But there's something we take for, which I know a lot of businesses have struggled with, which you've talked about. And guys, I hope that you're listening for this, because the challenge about, yes, this consultant has gone to work from home. Do you care about the environment where he or she works? Did you buy ergonomic seats for that staff? Did you give them a laptop? Did you give them a desk? What did you give them? And I hear Alanda's touch that. I like the fact that he's telling IT, we don't want desktops, we want laptops. I don't know how many of us have been able to get their businesses, their companies to be able to, to give laptops. It's something also at EcoBank really trying to make sure that we get laptops for our staff working from home. But let me give it. I know Sami Katambo's hand has been up for a while. I know he's probably burning with something on Trigger Foods. So Sami Katambo, over to you. Sami,
maybe you can unmute and go ahead. We can have Doris as Sami tries to unmute.
Exactly. Doris, unmute and ask the question, please. Also introduce yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can, Doris.
Okay, my name is Doris Kisai. I do quality assurance at Higher Education Loans Board. And Joseph, that was very insightful. When when you're being introduced by Julius, you talked, there was something about change management, which I've noted that over the last, let's say, like 1 or 2 years, you've been evolving and growing so fast. Some people do take change management as a role on its own when you're like building up new teams or expanding and all that. In your case at Twiga, how was it? And were there specific people who were change management champions, or was your staff and your team leaders the change management advocates? And how did you get that there was buy-in across the board? Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Yeah, and change management, I think like it should be Wanjiro who said that we have all been forced to change with the environment. I think today, if you are going to look even for a house, or God blesses you to build yours, all of us are thinking of a private study so that we don't put backgrounds like Julius. You need so change is here. And in transition, especially at Twiga, number one, we have a lot of collaboration in between the departments, and I work very closely with the IT department, but also with the commercial teams, because we are like joint in the hip with the commercial teams. I know some of my commercial colleagues are on this meeting. We have to work together to transition the customer. But in transitioning the people, then team leaders were very key, and even myself getting involved. Interestingly, I have a very supportive boss who also got involved, and would have talks and discussions, and even just highlighting the new normal in terms of ability to work remotely and still deliver, because that's the concern. And the assurance that, hey, if you need support, this is the process that you'll get support. We have this channel that you can reach us on. We are available on call for you. I mean, assuring your agents, because one of the fears the agents had when work from home started is not all agents were even computer savvy. You know, those jokes of IT that you call and your computer is not working, they come and then they tell you have not switched on your power. So those basic things of operating IT, some people are afraid, because every day there's a small problem, they raise their hand. Something has gone missing, they raise their hand for an IT guy to come, and we have to give them the assurance that it is possible, but there is support. So the IT teams were on standby during the hard times of change, in case for those people who need support, the team leaders, and we did those basic trainings in terms of even, you can take some things for granted. I saw people struggling with how to insert a SIM card in a MiFi. It's not your obvious thing to do. And so those basic trainings that you do for your staff, that then when they go home and how to connect to a hotspot, some of them were using their mobile phones, connect to a hotspot, was very useful as part of change management. So it's the little things that we take for granted that really mattered in this transition, and the assurance that support is available as you go to work from home. Some people also work in environments that are hostile. I mean, these are things I've experienced a lot. Hostile environments where, you know, the husband comes and can kick your laptop when they have come home at night. How do you give social support? So in the beginning, we had also a lot of online talks and just bringing in people to help us understand how to work alone from the crowd and still be sane and normal and deliver. Because some of us, you work for 5 minutes, Nizilani, Julius, you know me. After 5 minutes, I've walked around greeting people and come back to my desk. Who are you going to greet in your house? So just transitioning mindset really helped us to manage the change. And we were all involved at leadership level, and also the departments we need to collaborate with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, I've worked with guys who tell me, like even here in Nigeria, some people tell you, oh, me, I find working from home boring. Somebody else, you know, saying, some people just want to interact with people in the office. Like you see the other colleagues and they whatever, like when you have a funky Friday, for instance, I want to be at the office today. Some people are like, no, I never want to come to that office. If I have a choice. So managing different needs of people and different feelings and different, different people, meeting your team at their point of need and their uniqueness, taking that into account to deliver success. Thank you very much.
Yes, and let me add a point in terms of, then there's some rhythms and routines that you need to keep. For example, contact centers thrive a lot on pre-shift briefs. Now you can still do that virtually. So have your weekly check-ins, have your pre-shift check-in. It's also good, and just check on people. How are you? Give everyone a chance to speak, and if possible, ask people to open their cameras. They may be on their socks in their heads and whatever, but they're at home. I mean, just allow people to open their cameras, prepare them that in our check-in, we'll have to check in. We have to see you. You know, you could be receiving a customer call lying on your bed, and the voice projection will tell it. So those check-ins at the beginning were very regular. Before each shift, we do your Google Meet, open your cameras like we have done now, check in. How are you? Go personal first before work. And in some of the check-ins, it was just about personal, checking on you. How is it? How are you keeping up? Do you have your masks? I mean, how are you managing? Do you have enough food? What if there's a total lockdown? Are you ready for that? Just making people ready for the transition was important. Thank you, Julius.
Thank you. Fantastic. Wow. That's quite insightful. That's insightful. I know there are questions, but let me go to the next so that we can close panel, then we can go to the questions. So I'm going to go to, I said she's somebody I work with. We joined another employer the same day, same time. Dorothy. So Dorothy, I know that, I mean, the HF is quite huge, but some of the challenges we've had in work from home is productivity management, performance management. I know that, you know, a lot of our colleagues have already touched on it. But how has that been for you? Because you could have new mothers, new fathers, you could have people who also just have a different, is a different, I know, let me put it this way, some of the people I've talked to, my staff are really much better working from home. Some tell you there's been a big problem in monitoring productivity. So how has that been for you in terms of productivity management?
All right. Thank you, Julius. And once again, hi to everyone. As Julius says, I work at HF Group. I take care of customer experience. I've had good experience within contact center, especially where we were with Julius before in Safaricom. So coming to HF is looking at then both the contact center and the customer experience, basically at all the various touch points. So in looking at the work from home and the change in working patterns, we had to look at it holistically for both the teams that work within the branch network as well as the teams that work within the call center. So the reality of working from home is actually not as simple as we are probably making it look, yeah? And maybe what I can take you through a bit of it from a banking experience. Banking is a very highly regulated industry. So any small change or anything that you do has to be looked at very critically and keenly from like 10 directions before you can actually be able to make that move. And I think for banks like what Wanjiro was talking about, and maybe a few of the other bigger banks, this may have been a little easier for them possibly to do than for the smaller banks. So the reality of working from home, it means you actually have to get your agents to get internet connectivity at home. So imagine someone who is living, and the nature of our agents, and you know, we know how much we pay them, yeah? So they'll probably not live in our leafy suburbs. They will probably live in Mulolongo, or they will live in Huruma, or they will live in Githurai. And now, as you're looking at your costs, you have to give them internet connectivity. So you'll either rely on the fiber to the home fiber, or you will rely on the MiFis, as Orlando is talking about, and all. So things like fiber are probably not there, and they cannot be put basically because of where they live. So you have to rely on other things like the hotspot that Orlando was talking about, and MiFi and all. So those are additional costs that any organization has to look at. And that's just one aspect of it. You have to buy for them a laptop, because not everyone even has a laptop at home. And even if they have at home, you really do not want to use that one. You have to give them one that has your systems and your tools for them to work at home. So that's an additional cost of purchasing a laptop, because most agents have a desktop in the office, yeah? So you have to look at purchasing a desktop for them, the electricity issues that Nzilani has talked about, and then banking, being banking as is. We are extremely paranoid. And we are paranoid for a good reason. We want to take care of your money. We want you to feel safe that the money you have put in the bank is actually safe. So a lot of the systems that are used within the banking sector are very highly, security is key for us. And in the call center, you have your normal LAN connections that you use to be able to access those systems. At home, you do not have LAN. So even if I give you Wi-Fi, the home Wi-Fi, we have to put in there a lot of security features. So to just take care of the whole cybersecurity thing. So many times, the people who had access to VPNs in many organizations were very few, probably the senior management and a few other people here and there. But now you have to give your whole lot of call center agents, or at least the ones you need to go into work from home, access to those. Those licenses are expensive. So in a year that people were not making money, an organization then has to look at actually allocating money for those things for their agents to be able to work efficiently from home. A lot of us also use on-prem systems. We use CRMs and other systems, the Cisco's and the Avayas that Julius is talking about. They're all on-prem systems that we use. When they go home, the scalability and the level of technical support that is needed to help even settle those agents and get them working is not easy. So a lot of organizations then, like us, we really had to look for those cloud solutions that Mosetti is talking about, because those ones then it is easy to just plug and play and be able to log in from anywhere that you are for the agent to be able to work. And then of course the issues and the dynamics of working from home. I think Alando has talked to that quite a bit. If I live in a small house, I can barely even get a corner that I can close myself into and say that is my working area where I can be able to work from. We live with families, we live with our spouses, we have small children. How do you work? How do you work with? So those are the dynamics that, especially initially, were such a big challenge for the teams that had to work at home. And so settling them down and making sure people are able to log in and do all those things. I know organizations that actually gave the agents the chair to go with, what Julius is talking about, the ergonomics, yeah? Because you're sitting on a stool or the mattress that Orlando is talking about. So and within no time now you start having issues to do with the back and other health issues. So the organizations that actually gave the agents the chair, since you're not sitting on it in the office, just carry it at home and use it from there. So those are all the other dynamics that were in there that had to be taken care of. The noise, sufurias falling, someone is cooking, the kids are playing, and you're likely to hear that in my background at some point in my presentation today. But those were those are the realities of working from home, and you have to chase the kids away so that you can concentrate on this customer and all that. So having said that, productivity at the beginning was really hard. And of course that dipped a little bit. However, what helped with that is facing out your move to the home, so that you're not doing it big bang and you're able to do it in phases. So for us, we had a bit of that, and then we also, what we did to also mitigate that was to do co-locationing. So not necessarily in the home, because sometimes the home environment will just not cut it for some agents, yeah? So we did co-locationing. So we put them in like our BCP locations, where they are now able to work, but now we're able to take care of the Ministry of Health regulations around COVID and sitting space and all that. So that's one of the areas we're able to do. So once that's settled, then we're able to look at productivity. And a lot of what we've had to do, initially, the best thing about it is initially we already had ways of measuring productivity on a daily basis. So we do what we call daily dashboards. So on any particular day, you actually know how your performance is. If we were to do for you an appraisal tomorrow, you know what your performance will be. So just having entrenched that already as part of the culture, then it was easier, even when the agent goes to work from a different location, then they're able to check up on their performance on a daily basis. So productivity didn't dip for us. However, what we saw as a big change, and I think Wanjiru talked a bit to that, is in terms of the changing in patterns of customer behavior. So a lot of customers who are now at home, they do not even want to go into the branches. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention, because we were looking at customer experience from both the contact center and within the branch. So the footfall in the branch has gone down, and actually you're trying to reduce as many customers as possible from coming into the branch. And branch handles a lot of money, and we know during that time people were being discouraged from using paper money. So you really want to minimize interaction with paper, whether it's money or just physical papers that have to move around. So things like opening an account, we had to move from paper. We had to find other ways of people being able to open accounts or process loans or any other thing that requires paper, so that you can reduce that spread that we were trying to really cap at that point in time. So a lot of digitization then had to happen, and even the way you measure productivity then had to change. So we quickly had to jump on the bandwagon of automation. Yeah. So as we automate the processes that we are gonna have within the different branches, like we had to automate our account opening. We are in the process of automating even our loan processes. And I think for us, some of our really good moments will come when we are able to fully automate some of those processes, like mortgage, where it's heavily paper-based and all that. So in the process of doing that automation, then you have to do a lot of training and support from the agents who are not all together as was before. So the use of the collaborative tools came in very, very handy for us. And we've been able to actually, we call ourselves now a learning organization, because I think every week we have 1 or 2 trainings that we conduct on either Zoom or on Teams. And what we've seen initially, we started with probably just the teams that handle customers. But with time, as you log in, you notice more and more people within the organization are logging in, and now they just want to learn. So there's a time you'll find you have 200, 300 people on that call, because now we are learning and people are hungry to learn and just get to know where are we taking the organization, what can we improve, what has changed, which process has changed. So we've been able to track even coachings we currently do them online, I'm sure as most of us do. And we've realized that has given our agents a lot of freeness or freedom, if I can call it, whereby now you and your team leader or your manager are actually having a chat. It feels very private, by the way, it feels very private. And so the coaching sessions have really gone well. And so we've not noticed a dip in productivity from when our agents started working in different locations to when they were working together. But we've felt there's been a bit more bonding in terms of use of the collaborative tools that we are using. One of the things we noticed, though, was that our call patterns have changed. Our call patterns have changed. So during 2020, when we were going through the thick of COVID, we had a number of phone calls. Customers started off as usual with the calls, but with time, our volumes on the alternative channels have gone like 5 or some even 10 times more than what they were before. So we introduced during that time an alternative channel on SMS. That one has just taken a life of its own. We had just introduced WhatsApp banking during that time. So we have an alternative channel on WhatsApp. If you use our WhatsApp banking solution, we have a menu for chat with agent. So we've also seen that a lot of queries coming in through those channels. Emails have kind of been left a bit more to the corporates and the diaspora clients. But more of the Kenyans, I think Kenyans got really exposed to digital during that season, and they've picked it up and they've completely taken off with it. So our alternative channels have grown, I can even say like 5 times more, and they've kind of overtaken our voice. So the beauty with that then is we don't have to really scale up in terms of people, because the alternative channels, you're actually able to handle more customer per agent, and the cost to serve is lower, much, much lower on the alternative channels as opposed to voice. So on the voice, you'll probably get one agent handling between 80 to 100 calls in a day. But if I'm able, the same agent is able to handle about 250 customers in a day using either SMS or WhatsApp banking or email. So we are trying to push more of our traffic then, or our customer queries into the alternative channels, because we have seen that really work for us. And the bot solutions, the bot is able to handle quite a number of customers as well. And self-service solutions on the IVR, where customers are able to self-service. So that has been able to help us to really handle the traffic within the contact center, as well as the footfall within the branches. Then lastly for me, maybe what I've also noted is that right now, if you have not changed your customer experience strategy, then you must, because it will no longer be relevant the way it was in 2019 and before. So our strategies have had to change a lot to go into automation, digitization, and just trying to see how you can play better into that space, and no longer the one-on-one that we had before as what customer experience was before. That has definitely have to change. One of the areas that I've also seen grow quite a bit is collaboration with third parties. So now people are working together with third parties more and more. We are having more integration into other systems so that we can be able to deliver that holistic customer experience. So for example, one of the things that we are toying with around mortgage, we are big on mortgage, housing finance. So one of the things we're trying to do then is to see how then do we integrate into other third parties to enable us make our processes even faster, yeah, to reduce the turnaround processes. And we were really excited to see what is, for example, what is happening in the Ministry of Lands with the digitization of the registries. Because once that starts, then that means you can be able to integrate into that system and make sure that you're able to turn around for your clients. Something that used to take probably 30 days at the Ministry of Lands should now be able to take maybe a day or two. And that would be awesome, yeah? Now we are able to integrate into systems like IPRS, we're able to integrate into Safaricom. So opening an account is instant. And I know who Julius is, I can get his PIN through KRA. So those integrations with other party players out there is making it so much easier for us to actually do business and to serve our customers at the speed of their lifestyle. That's one of our mottos, at the speed of their lifestyle, so that they do not have to leave the comfort of their home and we are still able to deliver those services for them. I think Kenya is a really good adapter of technology. And I think some of these things have happened in Kenya even before happening out there. So we are happy with what we are seeing. COVID, it was a bad thing, but I think it has brought a lot of innovation and helped us to think around outside the box in terms of the solutions and the kind of services that we can actually give our customers. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Wow, it doesn't get bigger than that, right? So Dorothy, I mean, you know, and you have a lot of similarities to what you've done to what you've done at EcoBank, because we've had, like in Kenya, for instance, we've had more people working in different places now than from home. But if you go to Ghana, we have more people working from home, a lot of people working from home, you know, and let's say 40% from home. If you go to Cote d'Ivoire, it's different. Nigeria is a little bit more from the office. Our chat and social media are home-based. Voice is, so there are some of us who have found it difficult to do voice from home because of the bandwidth that it requires. So this experience, yes. Thank you for sharing that. It's been quite impressive and quite informative. I hope you guys are doing a lot of learning, yeah, and taking notes. Please also note on the chat there, you can also say any areas you want to talk about Omnichannel to bring next time. But I want to take 2 questions from the audience for Dorothy. I've seen some hand was up. That was, whose hand is up? Bernard.
James Moiruri, you can unmute and ask your question. James Moiruri.
Okay, I don't know that James is here. Oh, James, yeah. James,
there he is.
James, you are muted. Remove your mute. You're muted. Okay, there you go.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Very well, James.
Fantastic discussion, and thank you for facilitating this. My name is James Moiruri, and I'm an assistant vice president, strategic initiatives for Life Care Hospitals. And my past, I've been with the telecoms, in the telecom industry, and I'm currently now in the healthcare industry. Been also in the consultancy. There are a number of you that we engage with, and I'm really pleased to see you all. And there's also some great new people that I'm seeing and hearing from. So I love this community. Thank you very much for hosting.
Thank you.
I think what the part I wanted maybe to ask, please, is back to the customer, has the customer over this period of time been lenient with us, been a bit more tolerant because of the pandemic as compared to before? It's just something I'd like to hear from others. I mean, have you found them being lenient, being a bit more tolerant at that period of time? You know, it's like when there's a starvation, then a visitor cannot expect that you deliver a cup of tea with toasted bread. So this is a thought that I was wondering, across your different industries or from what you've seen, have customers been a bit lenient or tolerant with us? And then secondly is, we have done a lot to provide digital means or alternative means that they can then engage with us or access the services. How well have we provided hand-holding activities that they can be able to engage better in those channels that we have provided for? I appreciate that, yes, we have opened a number of channels, WhatsApp and all that, where they can be able to engage with us. But how much have we gone separately to handhold them that this is how you access this channel or how you access the service that you're seeking? You know, I tend to sort of see that probably we provided these channels, and the ones who are fast enough to catch up then caught up. I'm feeling maybe we could have, or we should do a bit better in terms of providing means where we handhold them that this is how to access. For example, in the banking sector, how well have they handheld my father or my mother in how to access that banking channel from in that digital perspective? So this is just an example, and I thought maybe I put it out there and hear from more of you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, James. Thank you, and thank you. Welcome from healthcare. You know, one of the things I've had, just to add to James' question before they already texted, and somebody else also can take it, is some customers have asked, you have told us to go more to the branch, go more digital, not to the branch, of course, to go more digital. But then your channels are failing. When I go to the mobile app, at times I have this challenge. When I chat you on Twitter or go to your chatbot, it takes long to get a response. So how are you helping me? You're telling me to go digital, but yet you're not very robust in terms of your technology to serve me at the digital channels. Dorothy, do you want to take that?
Thanks, Julius. I may need help at some point, but let me try. Let me attempt. Yeah. So I think the first question that James asked is in terms of, have the customers been lenient with us? I think initially they were, because initially everyone was trying to get their bearing with this thing. Yeah. The very tech savvy ones were able to jump onto the bandwagon immediately and take off, but many people, many Kenyans were still trying to get their bearing around this. However, as people have got the hang of it and settled down, they are not taking it easy on us. They are very, very hard on us. I think Wanjiro can relate to that. Yeah, they're extremely hard on us, and especially on channels like the social media, they're extremely hard on us, which I think is a good thing, because now we have a more knowledgeable client base who know their rights and are able to demand for that. And then also we are also living in a space where we can no longer hide, if I can call it that, because now that customers are on digital, they are comparing all of us. They will compare me, the bank, they will compare the hotel, they will compare the hospital. We are all on the same platform. So whatever service they get, if they get a good service at a hotel, they'll expect that from their banker. And they'll expect that from their school, you know. So we are all the same. So it's really up to us to up our game and make sure that we are able to deliver at the speed of their lifestyle. Now, in terms of handholding our customers, I think there we are guilty to some extent, because many of us pushed our customers out of the branches or out of the call into the alternative channels without probably properly preparing them as to what they're supposed to do there. So I know for one of the things we have tried to do as HF is we call out our customers a lot. So we speak to a lot of our customers as much as possible. And anyone who has called, we actually educate them on the existing alternative channels. Or anyone who walks into the branch, we actually do that. We do a lot of customer surveys during this period just to gauge how our customers are able to use or access our channels. We do a survey called Customer Effort Score, where we just try to find out how easy are our channels to use. What Julius is saying, we are pushing you to the mobile app and it doesn't work, yeah? So the customer is actually able to give me a score and tell me, your app, thumbs down, it's too difficult, too complicated. So we are then able to go back in there and fix whatever it is that is not working. So that has helped us to be able to make it as simple as possible and as foolproof as possible so that anyone can actually get in there and use, whether it's the chat service or any other service. And maybe solutions like WhatsApp, they were actually engineered from the customer experience. So that customer journey mapping actually started from customer experience into technology and not the other way around. So that way we were able to take into consideration what we know our customers better. We know what they would want to see, what kind of questions they'll ask. So we took care of that a lot in building a lot of the products, customer journeys that we have around our products and services. So I don't know whether anyone else would want to add anything to that.
Alanda wanted to add to it. Alanda, you want to add to it?
Yeah, thank you, Julius, and thank you, Dottie. That's a very exciting question. So I want to, yes, agree with Dorothy. At the peak of the pandemic, generally all of us were very, very nice to each other. And so customers were. What I like saying is that customers are human beings like us. They're not some strange animal out there. What I don't buy, they won't buy. And that's why I say, don't sell what you can't buy. So if you're going to promote digital service, you must be the first one to onboard on digital service and bring your staff to onboard on digital service so that your staff also become your ambassadors. Every single weekend, I onboard at least 2 vendors in my neighborhood as I buy from them onto the digital service. I've made it my personal target to onboard them. And that may mean even setting hotspots from my phone because they don't always have data as they sell on the roadside. So for us, what we have done at Trigger is when we started the digital migration journey, we made it a target, a rewardable target for the trade representatives that you must support. And that means go there, train, show them what to do, and let them place an order. It must end at a purchase for us to say it is a success. We reward you for it. So then that means the trade reps have the responsibility to educate and show the customers. It takes about 5 minutes, but show them how the common areas they have to go to, the features they will have to interact with daily, and then every so often we just track and check. And if your area is not doing well, we send you back to the market to check how your customers are doing. And like Dorothy has said, we also do a lot of outbound calls and a bit of even guided SMSs that tells you you can do this, go here to do this. Just trying to guide, and that I wanted to contribute to that. That number one, it must start from within. Any change, I worked with Equity Bank, and when we were with Dr. Mwangi, the change to make banking what you do and not where you go was a mantra inside. When we were in Safaricom, Julius, you remember our mantra was making M-Pesa bigger than cash, and it started with us. We would walk into a mall, and if you don't have M-Pesa pay bill number, we don't buy from you as Safaricom staff. Even in a kinyozi, I will not pay you cash. So if staff buy in, and then when you go there, you show them what to do. We onboarded customers onto pay bill. Our kinyozis, our saloonists, our butchery men, we took their details and onboarded them. And when you come next, you show them what to do. So staff involvement is very key in change management. And then you can have ongoing conversations. You can do video clips that show the customers how to, for those who are on digital, and put it on your digital space, and they can see some short video clips that helps to show that. And that really works. Thank you, Julius.
Fantastic. I know Wanjiru wanted to say something, but I want to take that in Q&A. Thank you, Alanda. Thank you so much. Because we want to go to Wabi before we James, thank you for the question, and I hope that we've done justice to it. And all this,
yes, you have.
Thank you. You can read them on LinkedIn and all other social channels. Now, let me go to Wavi. So Wavi said we're probably saving the best for last because help. I think none of us. Let me put it this way: all of us must have gone through help at some point. At least me, I did, and I paid my loan. But a lot has changed in help. The last time I was at help, I saw they were changing the contact centers. They were actually physically building a new place. But so, Wavi, if you look at the staff that you're working with in terms of training, in terms of health, in terms of well-being, what has really changed for help? What has help had to do to change and adapt to the new trends? Has the experience been difficult? How has help, done this? Because you see, one of the things we've seen, a lot of parastatals, I think help is one of those parastatals that has really made a change. These days, you just need to go to the app, to get your loan applied for. You don't need to fill all those forms that you used to fill. So just take us through how that has been for help.
All right. Thank you, Julius. I trust you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
You can hear me, Julius?
I can hear you, yes.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Julius, for that question. And I think maybe if, just like, everybody else on the panel has spoken, technology has really been the biggest game changer. And any organization that has managed a decent level of transition during these COVID times has had a level of investment in technology way before COVID came. There was no way you're going to deploy all this technology in just a couple of months and then think that you are going to be able to serve customers. So I think the journey for help has been, even prior, we had an element of using portals for application. But in the last 5 years, there has been quite a heavy investment in technology, where we transition, like you are mentioning, setting up proper contact centers. Because 5 years ago, we actually did not have a contact center. So had to start a contact center from scratch.
Well, what your connection is challenging?
The space, the renovation, we had an outdated.
Yeah, you're getting better, yeah. Well, Wavi, you can turn off your video in case it's giving you so that it's clearer.
Okay.
You can
Is
just
it better now?
leave the audio on. Yes, I think it's better now. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying that any investment in technology has had to have started a while back. So for us at HELB, 5 years ago is when we started investing in our contact center space, from the software and the hardware in terms of renovating our spaces, getting our resources set up from a technology perspective. Had an outdated via telephony system, we transitioned to Cisco, got in social media miner, social bakers, integrated our systems. We've really been on project mode for the last 5 years. Our core systems are Microsoft systems. So from the ERP to email to CRM, we use Microsoft Dynamics. And so all of that investment really came to help us during this time for COVID-19 in a really, really big way. And from ourselves, one of the things that we really transitioned heavily during this time for COVID is self-service. Government spaces, public sector is largely a very physical, walk-in, I must speak to someone kind of space, Unlike banks and other spaces, because a good number of our panelists, some of them have, come from, and also came from the banking space, where, people are already used to using apps and using USSD and using other channels. Public sector is very heavy on, I must walk in to see someone. If I haven't seen someone, I am not sure whether I have been sorted. So really changing that in a large way for us, where we upgraded our portals. So if you go to our website, www.help.co.ke, you will see that now our portals really got segregated in terms of the customer type. So there's a student portal for those who are studying and they need to apply for loan application form, check for their status for their disbursement, check for the status of allocation, so they don't have to speak to anyone to be able to know, has my loan application form been verified? Has my loan application form, have I gotten an allocation? Have I gotten my disbursement? They should be able to check that in the portal. If you have transitioned into where you have graduated and you need to be repaying your loan, again, you don't need to speak to us. Largely, you can go to the portal for the loanees portal and check your statement, check your balances, and have a number of self-service options in terms of repaying through M-Pesa or speaking to your employer for checkoff. Now, for the employers, one of the most difficult things we used to have is an employer saying, okay, fine, do I have to write you a letter so then I can know whether, this person, has Julius finished paying? Should he start paying? What's his balance? How long do I keep him on checkoff? So again, revamped that space from an employer's portal perspective. So, as an employer, you can go in there, you register, we make sure you're registered, you can check if Julius or Demba has finished paying his loan. You can now submit your remittances through the employer's portal. So you don't have to get a rider and a check and for the rider to come to our offices and, see our finance guys for you to be sure your pesa imefika help, And then we have got the last bit from our portal's perspective is for institutions. So you'd find that because the way our loans are disbursed, there's what goes to the student for upkeep, and then there's what goes to the institution for tuition. And you'd find that students would struggle, with finance offices where they would, we'd tell them we've sent the money, but the institution's like, we're not quite sure, So then now the institutions can be able to log in and say, you know what, X amount has come in for Julius or Demba, and they can be able to release them to go do their exams without having to speak to us. So those are some of the things that, really got fast-tracked and, were able to help customers and reduce that effort of people walking in. Because we all know, this time last year, a lot of our spaces were shut down. So from about April to about September, no one was walking in anywhere. Now, again, these were things that we streamlined and were able to encourage people to use. They were there before. But now we were able to, stretch, when you have no option but to figure out how to get in there and get it done. The other bit that we had already introduced was the Help app. We didn't have much traction before COVID. But then what happened is that we had to really consciously think about what do we do with all these loan application forms that are coming in. You cannot stop accepting student loan applications because universities were now transitioning to online classes. So the students still need the funding, right? So it was a big quagmire because also 75% of our loan application forms are received at the Huduma centers. Your Huduma centers are not accessible. What do you do with these application forms? So what we needed to do and fast track is transitioning our second and subsequent or continuing students loan application form to now be end-to-end on the mobile app. Before you get onto the portal, you apply, then you download the application form, and then you submit the hard copy. Now we did it end-to-end. Now what that forced us to do is even ask ourselves, all these things that we are asking, what value does the chief have, in this application form?
Very good question.
Yeah, so maybe it worked 20 years ago, but is it necessary now? And then remember, this is COVID times. So by the time you go look for your chief, so those are some of the things that we had to consider and make the loan application a lot more friendly, because there are other ways of confirming things. Like Dorothy was speaking about, you've got linkages to IPRS. So you can confirm the ID number, and you can confirm a number of things with our linkages to KRA, to IPRS for ID. So it's important that you figure out a way to make that work for you and reduce the headache for the student. So 70%, as at July last year, we transitioned 70% of our loan application forms, which are for the continuing students, to be on mobile app and USSD. Now we got really excited, guys, when we were saying, oh, you know what? Now we've gotten the kids the students to apply on mobile app, and there's this thing in Kenya where we say the youth and technology guys have smartphones, all the statistics about smartphones across the country. Let me tell you something, Julius. In our excitement for mobile app, we had so much feedback for, the smartphone that you have has got varying, the guys in what do you call it? In
IT.
In IT, or the guys who are in the space for the telco industry.
Yeah.
We all know the kind of phones that they provide. So you can have a smartphone, but you can't even download an app. Or if you download one app, you don't have space for downloading 2 apps. So some of these kids, from where they come from, and you remember help takes care of the vulnerable in society. So they don't have a high quality smartphone. So someone is telling you, I can't download that app. And even if I download it, my phone literally just slows down. I cannot operate. So we had to fast track the USSD bit, right? So then this loan application form can run end to end on USSD. And so we got a lot of traction around that. Now, there was this conversation about hand-holding and saying, okay, how do we hand-hold our customers to be able to know how to apply? But I must say, and that's one thing we need to appreciate, telcos have really helped us in a big way. So you see, and banks. So for us, we are riding on the fact that these people have used apps before, they've used USSD before, there's a lot of already prior knowledge. As long as you have, the steps are not too many, and there's an element of how to, go through the process, then we find that we were able to assist them in that regard. We also use our social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, to largely educate students on how to process it. So for us, our platforms are educate. So if you go to our Twitter page at Help page, you'll find that we sit in a space where we will tell you these are the deadlines, these are the loan application, this is how to apply. We are very largely in that space on how to. And then I think finally for me, from that perspective, one of the things that we have had to do is also change our communication in terms of how we communicate, say the loan application forms have been opened. Like I can tell you, we ran an ad this past week on Tuesday, and typically we tell you, this application form is open, go online and apply. Now we had to get even more granular and say your undergraduate first-time loan application is on the student portal. If you're applying for the subsequent loan, then you go to Help app and USSD code. It's not applicable here and here. So it also changes how we communicate. Luckily, in my role at Higher Education Loans Board, I handle corporate communication and customer experience. So I have got, before an advert goes out, I at least have got the luxury to work with my team and the IT guys and go like, guys, have we tested? What are the guys seeing at the front line? Unlike, say, Wanjuru at KCB, an ad might go out and she's busy scrambling, trying to keep up, with how this, and it's the nature of this, a lot of spaces we operate. Marketing, corporate affairs are completely different spaces from where customer experience sit. Now, luckily, Help is small enough, and I'm able to look at that whole process end to end. And I think finally, one of the things that we need to speak about as customer experience professionals that we cannot run away from is the impact of the Data Protection Act. How we are collecting our data, how we are using technology, what exactly is going out there, what are we collecting, must we collect it, and what are we telling our customers we're using the data for? So even as we look at self-service and growing in the space that we are operating in, we really, really must get up to speed on what is this Data Protection Act and ensure that the technology we are deploying is not leaking information out, and that we are able to keep our customer data safe, and we only collect what we must collect. Which takes us back, Julius, when I was asking the chief, what is the value of the chief? You know?
Yeah.
Even if it is a priest or whoever, you know, how many people actually can say they've got a priest or a pastor that they know one-on-one, you know? And what will that priest or pastor say in a hell-blown application form that it's neither here nor there, you get? So those are the things that, you know, we needed to ask ourselves even as we are transitioning. And I think lastly, just like everyone else has said, just figuring out, as much as we are transitioning customers to self-service, we still saw an increase in channels in terms of, for us, the one that surprised us when we were looking at our statistics for this financial year from June last year to July, from July last year to June this year, is how huge the volumes on email grew. I mean, we had over 200% increase on email. Yes, Twitter and Facebook are heavy, but then we found that because there was no walk-ins, and calls, you might stay on hold for a little while, then email, the volume just grew exponentially. And so just like everybody else, you look at your channels, you look at where your people are sitting and try and reorganize yourself. One of the things that has really worked for us, because at some point 70% of my contact center team was working from home, just like Rosalind talked about, was just figuring out how to manage productivity using CRM tools. So for us, CRM 365 has been excellent for us. But because, about 2-3 years ago, 2018, when we rolled out, when we upgraded CRM 365, one of the quote unquote rules that we had was, if it's not on CRM, you haven't worked.
It's not there. Yes. So if no CRM is not there.
Yeah, you haven't worked. I don't know what you have been doing. And that helped us because then the team was quite flexible and easy with that. So whether you're working, the people I did not see for a year plus, when they were working from home. Of course, people for calls had to come back because Masufuria na kuku in the background was not working. But largely, the guys on emails and social media, the people who are home for 18 months, and we could still track productivity quite well. And I think for me, in closing, is that just like any other organization, help is not perfect. And what we have done is try our best to leverage on technology and also link our information that we had historically. Help was started in 1995, but we have got data from the late 70s and 80s that was very manual. So sometimes trying to transition that, we have some challenges on that. But what we do is that we remain committed to serve our citizen service delivery and to empower the dreams of Kenyan youth. So for those of you who have not repaid your loans, yes, but I think, Julius, just one final thing, just so that then we continue these conversations outside of webinars and things like that. We have got a customer experience professionals WhatsApp group that I am admin of, and James Mirror is also an admin in that group. If you could reach out to us, trying to get the community to grow bigger. Julius, I know you're already in the group. Wanjiro is in the group.
Yes, I am.
Joseph joined the other day. So Rosalind, you need to get on board, and a few other guys. My mobile number is 0708 726 533. So reach out to me and we can add you on the group. Dorothy has been there forever. And we share a lot of this insight so that we just don't wait for webinars.
Yes. Wabi, please put that number on the chat.
Will do.
Yeah, put that number on the chat. Thank you so much, Wabi. I'm sure there's so many things. But let me first say this. Wabi, I went to look for a chief, get my loan, to get that, my goodness. And I come from Suba. Do you know how far that is? So
I know.
Oh my, yeah.
So
And
you can
pastor, I
imagine
don't know what
there's a lockdown, and we're telling you to go find your chief.
Oh man, that was, I mean, the generation today are really having a good time, having to just go to the app. But I'm really impressed by Help today, because D365 Microsoft is not a cheap tool, eh? It's not a cheap tool. And to see, for example, like Help going D365, it means that they have value, they think about service. A lot of companies still struggle with emails here, social media here, but D365 brings it together into an omnichannel platform and makes work so easy. So well done, and we are happy at the progress. We know there's a lot to be done, but thank you again for taking the question so well. So let me see if there are any questions for me. Time is really going. I'm sure there are some on the chat. Even the panelists can ask whoever your question in case.
Yeah, anyone can ask the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Why we do give loans for PhD people? Some of these people want to go for PhD.
Actually, we do.
The ones laughing.
Yes, it's true. We do give loans for PhD, and we also give scholarships. They are partial scholarships. So if you go to our website, www.help.co.ke, click on products, you will be able to see the various products that we have. Those loan applications are currently open. If you're salaried, look for the GLE Mission Loan product. If you are looking for the scholarship, then just go to the scholarship product. So they're currently open because we just started the new financial year. So reach out. You just might end up getting a partial scholarship for your PhD or master's.
Okay, fantastic. Wow. Even for masters or whatever.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think I want to go to the questions, but before I go to the questions, I want to, there's a colleague of mine from EcoBank. We are big in EcoBank. By the way, let me just tell you a bit about that so that you know. EcoBank are the biggest footprint in Africa because we're in 34 countries in Africa, 4 outside Africa. The aim of EcoBank is really to help intra-Africa trade. That's why EcoBank was set up. And EcoBank from ECOWAS at the beginning it was about West Africa. Now it's so big into East Africa. So you can see us all over in Africa. I have a colleague who is our head of contact center for the Francophone side. We have Francophone for which is Portuguese and Spanish. She takes care of Portuguese, Spanish, and Francophone. So that's about 20 countries. Anna Ewani, are you here? She's from Cote d'Ivoire. Her country is Cameroon, but she lives in Cote d'Ivoire. Anna, do you want to ask a question? I saw you say something just so that these English-speaking people can hear you. She's first French speaker, but she also speaks English. Anna, over to you. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the quality of these exchanges. It's really, really passionate, and I really appreciate it. And thank you, Julius, to have invited me to this forum. Yes, I am Anna Iwane, and he said it all. I will not come back to it. And what I can say and share with you in terms of experience is just for 1 minute. You said it all concerning the people, the way of management people in the environment of COVID. We face the same challenges in terms of process reviews, technical equipment to be adjusted. We also, of course, have the same challenges in terms of pushing the digital to the customers. But one point that I need to share, which was also a key, not challenge, but the questioning, is the return on investment. Because we invested, the bank invested a lot in recruiting more people to address our customers' challenges. We invested on technical parts, giving more access right to the tele-operators to be able to respond to all the questions the customer could have because they cannot go to the branches. And this one has a cost. So one of the questions that we used to ask is, okay, everybody is working from home. We invested a lot. What did it bring as a return in investment. Excuse me, I have a flu. So one of the key response I can share, and maybe you on the panel who are really expert as well on the matter, is the fact that don't laugh loud, but the electricity bills in the organization have really decreased. And the electricity bills of the staff have increases, and there were no way to add it in the salary of the teleoperators. I think this one is people have laughed a lot, but in the organization Ecobank, we really took it seriously. And now it's true that telework from house is something we think about for the future. And the second point I can share with you as an experience is humanity. I think besides COVID's challenges, besides COVID, pandemic, we move from the fear of losing our customers to the confidence of getting them and taking this opportunity to keep our customers in the bank. So yes, we invested a lot in the mobile app and so on, but we have customers who are illiterate. So for us, it's a very huge challenge in Africa. Not only I know Kenya is a very strong country in terms of literacy, but in francophone areas, there are still a lot of areas where customers they have accounts, but they don't know how to fill a form to put their money on. So it has been a really high challenge. And how are we doing, and are we coping on that? We're really multiplying the multi-language in our contact centers. So we are handling francophone as well, it's okay, but we're trying to speak vernacular and local languages to ensure that any customer who is calling us to have an information, we can speak his language. I think this is where we as a contact center professional, we need to go beyond francophone, French, English languages, and we need to speak local languages of our customers. I think these are the two aspects that I wanted to share, and for me, it's it. This is it. Thank you, Julius.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, and I hope you are well in Abidjan. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. It's been fantastic. I've really learned a lot, and I'm sure you guys have learned a lot. I see time has gone, but because we still have 61 people, I'm sure they're here wanting to listen to some of the answers that you want to give. So I will take it to the question and answer session. Daisy and Bernard, you'll take us through that. But I just want to mention one thing. You know, in our groups here in Ecobank tells us, we must take work where the people are, not taking people where the work is. Back in the day, we used to take people where the work is, not work where the people are. So the people are at home. So we are taking work there. You guys have heard how it's been challenging, how it's exciting, how we've had to change strategies. So guys, I hope you've taken the names of these panelists, and on the chat there you see different names. Please get in touch. I think the idea from what Omnichannel briefed me is to create a community where we exchange ideas and keep learning from each other. So there's something that you've learned from Orlando, you've learned from Wavi, you've learned from all of the Dorothy, all of the 6 panelists, and we're going to see a lot in the questions. But this cannot go in vain because it was a very fantastic session, and we're going to do, I'm sure, more of this in the coming days. We will be seeing Wavi live. She said we don't just do webinars, we're going to see Wavi live. But let's go on to the questions and answer session. So, Ogola, do you want to take it away?
Thank you very much, Julius.
Yeah,
thank you very much, Julius. And it's really been fantastic. I have enjoyed the session. So because of our time has gone, I will just go through the questions that we have, which have not been answered. So Sharon Oguda is asking, I guess this will be to all the panelists, it's not specific to one. With COVID, organizations worldwide have moved more operations to AI, that is artificial intelligence. How then does the future of client experience and contact centers look like? in terms of staffing, as most of the tasks have or are being moved to AI, are most operational roles highly likely to fall off as clients self-serve?
Wow. That I will take a bit of it, and guys, feel free to come in. I'm sure you guys have answers to this. Let me give an experience of EcoBank, what we've done. Now we have an AI, and it's a very robust AI. Actually, you are able to chat with the bot, and if it's a complaint, the bot itself raises a CRM case as a complaint, and then of course it goes to a live staff to close it. So we've seen a lot of work moving from the traditional voice. Voice has remained constant for us. I wouldn't say it has really gone down, but it has remained constant. But digital channels has really gone. Now, I think what we need to be aware of is we have to be future ready. In certain, we need to talk about future ready. Why? Because what is changing is jobs are not being lost. They are just changing. So you have to get ready to the new environment, to the new paradigm. But the jobs are still there. Actually, they are quite much more, but they are not in our traditional places. So today, back in the day, one of the biggest courses to do, you have to do engineering and do all these things. Today, some of the most selling courses are, analytics, data science, AI. Those are the things that are selling. So it's just, I think, one of the things to Sharon is be deliberate about being future ready and prepare yourself. Jobs may not be lost, but there'll be different kind of jobs. But my colleagues can also give it a bit of justice. I see Moseti's hand is up, and Wanjiru. Moseti, first.
Thank you so much, Julius. I want to speak in terms of the language of a staff. I know if probably you are in the midst of 2014, 2015, Cooperative Bank had, just allow me to use Cooperative Bank as an example, had undergone a transformation where I think the target was to push 40% of customers to the digital space. I know there was so much worry in terms of staffs that if, for example, I've been managing customers at the branch and I've been having certain portfolios, what will happen if all those customers start transacting online? And with that lead me to lose jobs. And of course, if you've also followed it keenly, even after implementing the transformation and the movement of the digital space, of course, they almost met the target. But anybody right now would tell you even CoopBank has even added staff. So it doesn't really culminate to an aspect of losing jobs. But then now I'll talk about the AI and the role it plays, not losing staff, but even actually adding more workforce. As I was telling you, we have now systems that intelligently can support you to sell. You have a system that at the end of the day, you can say out of 100 calls you made a day, 60% are well sold, and the translation of the conversion rate for that, it means that you have more customers by use of that intelligent service than you would have actually done by yourself, or maybe you would have done it manually. So what does that mean? So a system has been introduced, and this system has actually then contributed to, say, for example, 40% of the increase in sales. And you have more customers than probably you would have employed 2 people or 3 people to actually sell, and they maybe translate into 20% conversion rate. So it means that AI has helped you get more customers, and the more customers you get, even if they are in the digital space, still you will add people maybe to support those customers in the digital space. And that actually tells you that really it is just a perception that we have as, I don't know whether it's Africans or Kenyans, that anytime we introduce a system, the perception is that it is going to actually lead to the reduction of workforce. I think we are getting into a level where such should actually then be not really a consideration when an investment into the future is actually being considered. I think that would be my contribution.
Thank you. Wanjiru, please. Thank you, Moseti, for that insightful contribution.
Okay, thank you, Julius. Thank you, Moseti. I agree with you absolutely. And I just want to add some industry insights from the banking industry. We usually carry out a banking survey by KBA every year, which allows us to check what are the new things customers want, what are the things that the industry should change in terms of experience. And one of the questions we ask is, Would you, do you prefer the self-serve channels, the chatbots, the AIs of this world? What would you prefer? And customers, in as much as they want those channels, they also want human interaction. So I do not foresee human interaction completely going away. However, the nature of the interactions will be deeper. Now, using the AI that you have, how do you know your customers 360? Do I know Julius is currently in Nigeria and has an account with KCB? What are the needs that Julius would be having here in Kenya that I can be able to offer him? That information now that you have, and then it enables you now to reach out to your customers. So it means for us, we need to retool, we need to reskill, we need to up our games in relationship management skills, in advisory skills, so that now when you're speaking to our customers, you're speaking to that customer like you know them wholesomely and offer the products that they want. So that even with the AI, you will be able to know, where does this person like to shop? What do they like to do as activities? Partner with other people so that you can offer these things. So I think it offers much more for us. We just need to retool and reskill and be able to offer our services to our customers better.
Fantastic. Just to add to what Wanjiru has said, somebody was saying, looking banking, for example, a bank A, let's say Standard Chartered Bank in Kenya, whichever bank, has lost some staff because branches are closed. But they are companies that support them digitally, let's say Cellulant, let's say all those companies have doubled their staff. So this is, and within the organization, again, the thinking about what the future holds is really important as you do your career development in organization. Zelen, did you want to talk about this? Did I see like you wanted to say something?
Sorry, Julius, please repeat your last statement.
No, I was asking if you wanted to, I saw like you wanted to say something.
Yes, what I wanted to just add to what has been said is the fact that that the change into AI is not really, it should not be so much of a worry, but it's creating infinite possibilities. Most of us did not go to school to study customer service. We landed in customer service with other skill set. However, what is happening right now with the move into technology is that we need to reskill and develop skill sets that enable us to move into the next phase of what customer service, customer experience looks like. And I think that is the challenge then we pose to our teams, even as we continue growing these digital channels. The other reality is the fact that if you look at our frequency of contact rates, they may remain stable or even reduce with the introduction of AI. But what tends to happen is that you're still growing your customer base, you're still growing your order levels. So you require actually more staffing as you go along. What AI enables us to do is to reduce this from a resourcing perspective, not by reduction of workforce necessarily, but by optimizing the skill sets that we have or the people that we have to do more value adding activities. And I think that has been said, and that's what I would just add to that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think we've done justice to that question. And this, we will, I think, Omnichannel will send responses on email. So let's go to the next question. I think we have to finish at 1:30 on the dot, so that, yeah, people have other calendars. Today is Saturday.
Well,
yeah. So we have
thank you,
17
Julius.
minutes.
We have another question from Pius Walela, who was asking to Wanjiru, what has been the most challenging experience while handling customers via digital platforms, especially with the highest number of customer interactions?
Okay, so I'm assuming it's all in the context of COVID. So one of the things that I can say has been most challenging is as the numbers rise, because sometimes the numbers don't rise 1 or 2, you suddenly see a large increase. And it's first of all, that monitoring your interactions very closely to ensure where our customers move into. And then now the most challenging thing is making sure that the quality of interactions remains the same. What has been the customer promise? Are we promising that on our channels, or is it distorted? Because it has to be consistent throughout. So those are the two main things that have been a challenge, that consistency and the quality. So that means that we have to ensure that we have ready teams to move on to these channels, to onboard, so that they are able to actually handle those interactions end to end and to the quality that the customers expect.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. I don't know if somebody wants to add that, but if not, go to the next question.
All right. So the next question was from Caroline Nyambura, also to Wanjiru. Seem to have a lot of questions. What has been the impact of COVID-19 on other client service roles apart from contact center role? For instance, in branch service managers and also in relationship management.
Okay, so it's very interesting. We've seen less foot traffic to our branches, not absolutely zero. It's been lesser, or customers want the digital channels. However, what has happened is customers still want to go to the branch. And when we find out, when you go, why are you going to the branch? So you find that customers are going there for more advisory relationship type of things. So for example, I want to get a mortgage, I want to get a loan, I want to restructure my loan, I want to find out something, and they want that interaction. Those are the conversations they don't want to have, maybe, for example, on phone or on WhatsApp. They want to have, what do you think about this? What can I do? So we find that most of our customers who are going to the branches and the staff there, in terms of that upskilling and retooling, that's what we've been talking about. We are beginning to see that that's what our customers are asking for. I want to know, because you're the professional around this area, advise me, tell me more. So that's the change that we have seen.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. What is
Can I add on to
that? As well? Yes.
So just a quick one. In addition to what Wanjiru is saying, is that for us, what happened is that when Huduma centers closed, unlike, say banks where you are considered as an essential service and you did not completely shut down your branches, for us, we went through a phase for about 4 months where we could not serve out of Huduma centers. And apart from head office, HELP does not have any other branches across the country. So then what happened was that we lost our branch presence. And even as we went back, because people, Kenyans, needed still to adjust to that whole issue of getting back to the branches, in this case for us, Huduma centers. So just trying to ensure that, one, your staff are not just staying home doing nothing, and also when they get back, then they are not underutilized. What we did was we reorganized them and put them on the email queue. Because remember, like I said, our emails blew up and we saw a 200% increase on emails. So then what we did is that we gave them access to the email queue. They were still on CRM and were able to have at least some element of productivity. So I think that also kind of varies based on which sector you sit in and your presence across the country. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Avi. Yes, Doti, take it away.
Yes, I wanted to add on to what Wanjiru and Wavi have said. During the COVID period, one of the things that banks did was to give the customers an opportunity to restructure where business had really hit hard on their sources of income, and if those sources are the ones that were being used to service the loans. However, the challenge that came with that was we really didn't want a lot of customers coming into the branches because of the obvious reasons. However, even customers didn't want us to go to them. They didn't want us to take the virus to them, So how then do you keep that conversation going? And what we did, we jumped onto the opportunity of actually getting into now the digital engagements with those customers. And when we started talking to the ones who wanted restructure, we expanded the net and started talking to all of them who have a relationship manager. So what that did, it gave us an opportunity to engage all our customers, even the ones we had not been, sorry, the plate I was talking about.
You are
even
the ones, right?
Who, yes. Has just happened, yes. Even the ones we had not been talking to regularly, we were able to engage them. And what we've seen as a result of that, other business opportunities have come out of that. So it was an obstacle, but somehow in the course of overcoming it, then we're able to do that. And of course, in engaging even the customers who needed restructures, if you work with them, by now, most of them are now paying their loans because the businesses have started to pick up again. So I think banking being a business of trust is more of just that constant engagement with your customer and taking advantage of that. So the COVID did not really affect it as negatively as we had expected it would. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Julius, you want to add something?
No.
All right.
No, just go on with another question.
Thank you. The other question was also by Caroline to Joseph. Joseph, they are asking, how do you support your staff in terms of motivation and mental well-being? That was coming up during the presentation around work from home and all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I alluded some answers to that when I talked about the change management process that we went through. But there are some other initiatives that we still deploy. One of them is, of course, the check-ins and also sessions that talk about issues to do with COVID, wellness, and personal hygiene, and just talking about it and even offering options that would fit their shifts. Like if someone cannot work a particular shift because of some of the examples I gave, how do we support them to still work from home? We have done also some interesting, crazy stuff like virtual pizza, where you deliver pizza and we meet at a particular time and we eat pizza as we chat as a team in small teams, and that brings motivation. Celebrate birthdays. Surprise someone with a cake and have a time set up to celebrate, because those are things we used to do when we were physically in the office. There are some things that do not need to go away within possible costs that we can still do. And then just having maybe for some sections of staff who do not need to come and log in, but you can have maybe once in a month, let's just have a catch-up meeting, a physical meeting in the office, just to check how people are doing and to remember our faces. That also helps to keep people motivated. Yeah, and then throw a pizza somewhere and keep safe. I might throw in one that we did in my former place of work, and I think they're still doing it. This is multi-choice. I think some of them are here. Is our leadership made a good decision then, and was sending on a monthly basis home delivery of a hygiene pack that has jig, as masks, have hand wash. I since left multi-choice, but I still have some hand wash stock from multi-choice. And that was very
By the way,
nice.
guys, that is a very important one. I hope you leaders have taken note. Surprising stuff with such stuff. By the way, Orlando, so I have some of your friends asking this one for virtual pizza. How do we do it?
No, you just deliver pizza. You do home delivery and agree at the time we are meeting to eat pizza. Put on our cameras like this. Like now, Julius, you could have sent us pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we expecting a surprise?
From Nigeria, send us some fufu from Nigeria. We eat together as we have this conversation.
With fufu now, live on camera. That would be nice. Okay.
With Pepe?
With Pepe.
Yeah, so I hope that has alluded to what we can do. But the most important thing is we have kept in touch with staff, and it's important to keep in touch with your staff. And it starts with us. When you go into a meeting, put on your camera so that you welcome the other guys to do so, and then see each other. Kwa Waluya tunasema salamu ni nusu ya kuonana. Asante.
You know, the thing about staff, actually, this COVID situation has really taught us that our work is 80% people. I always joke with my colleagues in the RCCs, in the regional contact centers, that, you know, as fast we are heads of happiness, creating happiness. And creating happiness, human beings thrive best when they're happiest, not when they're saddest. And work from home can be really challenging. You have to create happiness. So I have one new tip I'm going to do: virtual pizza. And I'm sure my colleague Anna is listening. Virtual pizza. Okay. All right. Another question. We have 10 minutes.
Omnichannel will also do that in our next webinar. We'll surprise you with a virtual pizza. All right. So the other question was to
Usilete picha ya pizza.
Real pizza, yeah.
Real pizza. So Mosetti, the discussion about Connex One was very interesting to know, especially for the digital quality assurance tool. Is it part of the package with the contact center system? I think that is relation to Connex One system.
Yeah, I think to answer that, Connex One is a platform, and the platform comes with packages, all in one, the contact center system and the customer experience management platform. So all those quality assurance, in fact, and maybe one that is coming out even from the just concluded question that we've just answered, is in terms of motivation of the contact center agent from that particular platform, is a feature called gamification. And I think because we are all customer experience gurus, we understand what gamification is. So you cannot have a team at the contact center, whether they are working from home or they are working from your workplace, where themselves, they do not have a way of motivating themselves, not even the company itself. So you have a gamification tool that, say, for example, today or maybe end of the month, you want to give the agent of the month, maybe probably a television, or maybe you've just given a certain present, and you say, I have put some points here, and each and every time you raise the bar, you earn more points. So at the end of the day, you have 10,000 points to earn. So if, for example, you want, say, you want to go and have, say, I want all people to be logging in 30 minutes before they begin the session. So if you want to increase, so if you log in between 30 and 25, you earn a certain point, like that. So at the end of the day, you have a leaderboard. That leaderboard gives you every day, even if you are seated somewhere, you can see whether your friends have 9,700 and something like that. So at the end of the day, at this month, I am just about to get a television. But the person who's following you up is also saying, number one, I'm only 2 points to actually beat him up. So he gets everywhere where a mark is earned, whether on the adherence, whether on speech text and all that, to actually gain that particular television. It's a way of motivating the contact center agents. But just to confirm to the question that you are asking, the quality assurance, the contact center system, the customer experience management platform, the social media platforms, all of them are in one complete package called Connex One platform. I hope I have done justice to that question.
Yeah, and I'm sure that guy is going to look for you. So you have some potential market there, some potential sale. And you could move from. Mosetti should give us the next pizza, because this may just move from 17 customers to 20 today.
No, but you see, this session was not even really to sell, but for sure we were sharing.
I know. Yeah.
If you have been impressed, maybe probably you can make a call. Yeah, but I wanted this session for purposes of learning.
Yeah, fantastic. Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mosetti. Ogolat.
All right, thank you very much, guys, and thank you for answering the questions. Because we have just 2 minutes to close, I would like to make a request. If all the panelists could kindly put their contacts on the chat, so that we can, the audience can get. Mosetti, you can have your number on the chat. I know there are guys who would like to call you. I can see Wavi has a question for you, so you can take it offline. Yeah, so you can get the contacts. And just to wrap this up, I am so grateful for every one of you for making time to come. And thank you so much for gracing this moment. We have shared our social media channels on the chat. You can check us out, Omnichannel International, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you have any feedback that you'd like to leave for us, kindly you can leave it on those channels. We will be able to respond to you. We will also share with you feedback from this session in your respective emails. If there are topics that you'd like us to handle in our upcoming events, you can also share with us on those channels. We will be glad to hear from you. And we want to welcome you to Omnichannel. We will be hosting these events. We have others lined up and we will be sending invites to you. If you are interested in being a panelist or talking about a particular topic, you can share with us. Or if you know someone you want to refer to us to handle a particular topic, you are also free to share with us, and let us keep interacting. This is a platform where we share insight and we share information. And so we would really want to thank you so much. We are very grateful. If there is no any comment from my colleagues, my colleague Daisy, I think if there are no comments, we can close it, and I will now leave us to, we can leave at will. But thank you very much. I will follow up this conversation with emails, with feedback from the session. I don't know if Julius, you have a word.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say that in case any panelist has a burning closing remark that they want to put.
Yes.
Even a suggestion.
The burning remark is to close with a word of prayer.
Fantastic. we will do that. Any other burning remark? Yes, Joseph. Orlando. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Julius. And I think this might form part of our discussion next time or another time in the future. And this is about, as we go digital in our places of work, the public has also gone there's a very huge uprising digital community advocacy that impacts on how we do business, your buyer bewares of this world, and all these other environments of what now I call e-opinion that impact the business environment. And as customer care people, we work very closely with the PR people to make sure that this is well handled. And it's important that we all share experiences and how we handle the opinion and the uprising digital community advocacy.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That opinion, is it in the Oxford Dictionary already?
Please put it.
I'm learning.
New words, Julius. New words.
New words, yeah. I'm writing.
You can see the challenge of work from home now. You get now.
Fantastic.
Those are the benefits.
Those are the benefits.
Those are the benefits.
If you keep lying that you're working and you're not.
The work environment has been changed forever.
He has been calling and saying, is this meeting not ending? I'm telling you now.
All right, guys, take it out. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be in touch. Omnichannel will share everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, so
prayer.
So can we pray?
Yes,
Mosetti was to pray for us.
Mosetti was to pray.
Okay, so let's pray, guys. Let's pray. We are praying. 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 Let's pray, guys. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come unto you this afternoon. Lord, thank you for even what you have helped us discuss, oh Father and God, in terms of sharing information about customer experience and contact center operation. Lord, we want not to take it for granted that this has happened because of you, and we would have done nothing without you, Lord. Thank you for everyone who just took his time or her time to come into this meeting. And Father, we ask whatever they have learned, they impact their various organizations in their various ways, Father, Lord. We ask for your guidance and wisdom even as we go back to our places of work, and Father, apply what we have learned today. Thank you. We want to also take time to thank the Omnichannel team for putting this together, to bring a team together that we used to discuss. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray, trusting and believing. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mosetti.
Guys.
Unmute. Guys, hold on. Please unmute and a round of applause for the panelists. Please unmute. Everyone, you can unmute and clap for the panelists. Let's go. See you in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yes, Julia.
Kempinski.
All right.
Oh, yeah. You're also suffering like me.
Watch at you. I'm throwing
joy.
a bad eye. Keep them away.
Not suffering. Actually, those are the benefits.
All right. Okay. Cheers, guys. That's been amazing. All right.
Amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Amazing. Thank
Good
you.
mentorship for the young ones.
Yeah.
And thank you to the Omnichannel team.
You know,
Content.
Moseti, you know, in my lifetime, I've always taken my children to where I work.
Yes.
Now they see what I do at home.
You can't lie no more, yeah?
You can never lie no more. The way Papa...
and they can understand how, what your work is just to be on meetings. Eh?
The guy has refused to understand how a meeting can run from 10.
So thank you, guys.
All right.
2 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure.
Awesome.
See you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you next
Coming
time.
soon, eh?
Yeah.
we are looking out.
And I've seen Karo Jawichre.
Oh yeah, Jacqueline Osoro was here. Hi, Jacqueline.
Karo was here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Carol is still here.
Hi.
Hi, Carol.
It is not like you're saying it, Moset. It's not Jawichre. Jawichre.
Yeah.
Don't read it in English.
Kara, you have to come on. Kara, you have to come on video. We have to see you. That's pronunciation from Joyce.
Yeah.
Jawichre, say something.
Jawichre.
Great session. I'm really
Awesome.
part of this meeting. And I'm so happy to see a number of people here, Joe being my former HOD, at Oseti being my dear colleague. We were colleagues in the same department, in the same role, bank. Wanjiro, my very good friend and former neighbor.
Wow.
Tobu, who was here earlier from Cop Bank. I've seen a number of people that I know, and just recently we had engaged with Wavi. So it's been a great session.
Wow.
And visiting Omnichannel offices, I noticed you're on Mombasa. Are you?
Yeah, we're on Mombasa Road at Next Gen Mall.
I will be there.
Karibu sana.
Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thanks, Javi.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carol. We'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk. Thanks for connecting, by the way.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys. All right.
All right. Thank you, team. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Wow,
Okay.
that was fantastic.
That was good.
That was a good one.
That was a good, and I liked the turnout really. It averagely it was 80, and then towards the end, guys started dropping off. But that was good.
We were at 80 something. Then we for a very long time we were above 75.
Yeah.
That's a good turnout.
Yeah, for a start, that's a good turnout. So we'll just have to now move more higher.
We have to do more of this now. This thing can really work, and you see, it's a very good way of creating contact and also for marketing.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice marketing strategy. Yeah.
This was awesome.
Because I can see even the post on Instagram, we got over, I don't know, let me see.
It went to how many?
For the poster, we went